Mercury demo rides kicking off in a little bit. I believe starting at 10 a.m. this morning. So make sure you check those out. They're free of charge and a lot of fun. And we are just a few minutes away from takeoff. Official time right now, 6:55. I'd like to pass the honors off to Steve to announce our invocation.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Please rise for the invocation this morning. We have Mary Gore from the Toledo Bend Ministries going to be praying.
Bow your heads with me, please. Father God, we thank you for today. We thank you for this fishery that you have blessed us with. Lord, I pray that you be with these anglers, that you keep them safe, that you guide them today, Father. We thank you for the safety that you've granted this week. Father, again, we are grateful for all that you do for us. We ask that you help us to have a blessed day and a safe day. Thank you again for all that you do for us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Please remain standing for the national anthem.
We are 2.5 minutes away from officially kicking off Championship Sunday, the first Championship Sunday of the 2024 Bassmaster Elite Series. And when it came to setting out our schedule, we couldn't think of a better place to kick it off right here in Louisiana, in beautiful Manny, Louisiana. For the first time in 7 years, the Bassmaster Elite Series returns, and we are happy to be here.
Only cold front. I'm ready.
2 minutes until we kick this off. I want to remind everybody you can follow the action on Bassmaster.com. And as always, every Saturday and Sunday, a Bassmaster Elite Series competition. You can watch Bass live on FS1, kicking off at 8 a.m. Eastern Time.
I'm like, that's insane. Okay, I want 30 today. I want to pull out there and pick them right off the bat and get serious with it.
It is finally time. We are almost ready to get going. We have waited a long time to get here to Manny, Louisiana to kick off the 2024 Bassmaster Elite Series. This is the Gamakatsu Bassmaster Elite at Toledo Bend, and we are 10 seconds away from takeoff. I need everybody on the dock and in the stands to count it down with me. 3, 2, 1. Leading them out, your tournament leader, a former Bass Nation national champion, a 3-time Classic qualifier from Wisconsin, Pat Schlopper. Right behind him, all the way from Japan, his second season on the Bassmaster Elite Series, 5 top 10s last year, and an Elite Series victory. Get loud for Joya Fujita. What a rookie class we have this year, and he's leading our Dakota Lithium Rookie of the Year race. Fishing his very first Elite Series event from Knoxville, Tennessee, Robert G. He's a 5-time Classic qualifier. He's an Elite Series champion. A calm, cool cat from Colgate, Oklahoma, Luke Palmer. A social media superstar and an Elite Series angler. He's already won one Open and got his eyes on his first Elite Series title, Ben Milliken. Right behind him from Summerville, South Carolina, 4-time Bassmaster winner, Patrick Walters. The first Canadian ever to win a Bassmaster Elite Series event, Chris Johnston. From Connecticut, making his second top 10 on the Bassmaster Elite Series, Alex Wetherell. A 2-time Classic qualifier, former Bassmaster Open winner and Canadian Open champion from Bowmanville, Ontario, Canada, Cooper Gallant. And returning to the Bassmaster Elite Series, a 5-time Classic qualifier, the back-to-back Bassmaster Classic champion from Coleman, Alabama, Jordan Lee. That concludes our top 10. They'll battle all day long on this legendary fishery. Toledo, Bend, Manning, Louisiana, you guys have been awesome. But it all comes down to this. 10 remain. Who will be the one holding the first Elite Series title of the 2024 Bassmaster Elite Series? Kamikatsu Bassmaster Elite at Toledo, Bend.
Good morning. We're here at the Gamakatsu Bassmaster Elite Series event on Toledo Bend. I'm sitting here with John Cruz and Brian Schmidt, some proven winners, as they might say. And we're just taking off. And you guys, I'm going to just turn it over to y'all and let y'all roll with it. But, tell us what you expect to see today. Schmidt, you've been there recently. John, you started off like tell us what is going through these guys' mind on the final day, because this is a tough day.
Sure, yeah. When you look at the weights, everybody wants that blue trophy when it comes to Sunday. When you look at the weights, Pat's got the lead, and it's sizable for this place. This is not a place that you can't come back from, because you can drop a 30-plus pound bag at any time. And right now, Pat's got that 6-pound lead. Once you go behind Pat, there's Kioya. Then you got a little gap, all kind of tight. So somebody in that group, from down at Milliken, Robert G, maybe somewhere in that middle, could drop a really big bag today and overtake Pat unless he drops a really big bag. So the ball is in his court. He's not really been in this situation. No. I feel like he has the ability. He seems like he has got the confidence, and he's just got that, he's got that air about him this week that seems think, Brian?
100%. But I know the nerves right now. The nerves are probably and yesterday didn't really smash on them, so and I that when he gets to his first spot, his main area, it's still happening, and there's not a lot of local traffic. All one of those top guys, if they can just get to a nice early start, it'll make their day, just to get the day rolling with some nice fish and maybe a limit at a pretty early time. If that doesn't happen and then they got to scramble, it could be a little
There's a couple things to keep Robert G there running, and he had a big day early, but he's just kind of dobbing around to himself, and I don't even know what creek that is. You got Pat, which you mentioned, and his school seems to be moving. Koya's school seems to be moving. And then you had Milliken tell us yesterday that the fish were piling into his area, which is scary.
Yeah.
I mean, Milliken would be somebody that we'd really want to pay attention to if I was, my crew that are on the water, they're paying attention to those potential movements because, we've seen Koya went 30, 20-something, and 16. He dropped like 7 pounds every day.
Yeah, Koya, he's in an interesting spot, in my opinion, because his and what happens is that he pieced together yesterday. He caught a 6 and a 4 late yesterday, and that he pieced that together to keep him in contention. So now he's not beholden to that area that he was married to for the first 2 days, tried to be married to it for the third day. It failed him.
So now he could be really dangerous.
So now he's fishing free. Okay. And when you got a guy that's that good at what he does, that's going to be bouncing around, and that's what happened yesterday is Keoya bounced around, and it was about the 10th stop, as we were told, about that 10th stop, him bouncing around, and he didn't even put the trolling motor down. He was just going to one spot looking, next spot looking, next spot looking, next spot looking. He got to that 10th one, he dropped it, 6 and a 4, boom, boom. Now, if he does that today and keeps moving and looking, and he runs into that right area, Pat's going to have to put him on the scales, man. He's going to have to bring the heat. So that's why it's going to be very interesting to watch what happens and how this plays out. There's a lot more strategy behind what's going on here than it might look like. Right. It's going to be very interesting for guys like us, we got another derby next week, and it could be some of the same patterns going on. So that's what we're watching for.
Well, I thought what you said with what was probably going through Pat, the fish still there and everything. I mean, those are the things, the demons that get you. Tell us more about some of those demons there.
Oh yeah. So, here's what you've worked for your whole life. You're leading it. You got a pretty good lead, which isn't unmatchable on a fishery like this, but you have a good lead. And when you go to bed last night, all Pat's saying is, please let them still be around there. Please, please, please. Let me get the day going early. The worst thing that could happen on Championship Sunday with a lead is you go there and you're not seeing them, and you got a lot of local help or whatever. The winds change, and you just start it's not the same. And, the demons can get in there quick. Maybe, did they go to the bank? Did they do this? Should I go fish the grass? And before you know it, it's 10 o'clock, and you've totally abandoned, what you've been doing. But I think Pat, correct me if I'm wrong, he's into martial arts pretty heavy. And I think a buddy of mine told me that doesn't even fish, and that takes a lot of discipline. So Pat might be very, very mentally strong, and he might stay the course no matter what. But the demons can get rolling, and I know, the scary thing is somebody that's on some fresh fish, or the guy that doesn't have anything to lose today. This lake has fish that have not seen a bait all winter, till now. There's schools swimming around that one of these guys could stumble into, and it's like this magical 30-pound bag that just wants to come into their boat. They're not pressured. They're fresh. And you know, to hear what you said about Ben, that's pretty scary to hear that. So if he's got fish coming to him, that could be nasty.
Yeah, I think that's a big factor with Pat. Like I said, he doesn't seem to be too hyped up or too, you know, distraught about what's going on, at least verbally. And I heard him say yesterday that when he was out there, he had multiple other areas that he had caught fish in practice that he hasn't even been to in the tournament. Now, if they were better than the areas that he's fishing, he would have probably started there. But that's still, if he puts a 20-pound bag on the table, that's still going to be tough to overcome. Not impossible, tough to overcome. If he puts 25 pounds, that's going to be real hard to overcome, really hard.
Mm-hmm.
If he has one of those magical days again like he did one of the first 2 days, it's done. Write him the check, hand him the trophy. But lot to happen in the next 8 hours, and we're going to sit here and watch it.
So if he catches them really quick and really early like Koya did on the first day, can we just call them all in, call the dogs in?
I don't think that they're going to do that. I don't think they're going to do that. So here we go. We got Robert G. He was. You were asking about his area. I believe he's in Negrete Creek, which is real close to the takeoff here, just the very first creek down. He's been in there basically by himself. Only a couple boats, I think, the first 2 days. But what he's doing is in a little bit different area, and he's just out there scoping those fish that are trying to move into the bank. He's
Tell us a little bit about that. What's he seeing? What's he looking at? You know, I think there's a lot of confusion, and obviously, I mean, you know, it's because it's so non-traditional. Tell us a little bit about what he's looking for, what he's seeing, the you know, point, creek channel, drop. What is he brush? What's there? I mean, what would you think would be? And you can guess because nobody's going to question you.
Go ahead, Brian.
You know, what I think's going on, guys, is he's just trying to find fish on his live scope. You know, just chasing around. But throughout the day, he'll find little sectors that have more life, and maybe throughout the day he starts to be able to relate what they're using. You know, right now he's trying to find the life. And does it move a little further in? Does it move further out? Does it move east, west, whatever? And then he finds that sector, and then he's like, okay, maybe they're using a dead-end ditch going into a flat, or the bait's there, or whatever. But I think early in the day it's just find the life.
Well, so we're seeing some of that. Explain some of that, because I'm thinking that I'm seeing shad ball right there.
Yes,
boom.
sir.
Yep. But am I seeing fish? We're seeing timber. We're seeing the humps, or even a drop.
He's related to some ditch. It looks like there's a couple fish a little deeper there, you know, and there's some bait. And you know, when he pans around, you're seeing the rise. So he's somewhere where there's a valley or a ditch, and he's got, you know, a little hill to each side of him, and there's some bait, there's some timber, and hopefully some bass swimming around. But that's what he's trying to find, and preferably to find somewhere where he's seeing a lot of life, you know, and bigger marks, you know, bigger fish on the screen. But
yeah, a lot of what he's going on now, it looks like he's scanning left and scanning right and scanning left and right, and what you're seeing on the screen is typical of what you're going to see in most areas on Toledo Bend. It's going to have standing timber. Lakes that have standing timber, Brian, I'm sure will agree, they have more fish that live out in the middle because they will relate in those timber areas. We'll see some more of this at Fork, but this is not, you know, you got Table Rock. You have other lakes in different parts of the country where they relate to that timber just like they're doing here. And you can see all that bait out there. So the buffet is out there. He's, like Brian was talking about, you see the valleys and the ridges. He's probably kind of following along the creek channel there in that creek that he's in, and he's just scanning, looking for those bigger dots that might be related to the bait. They may not be. He was talking a little bit here, and Robert was talking yesterday about how he thinks a lot of those fish get up in the water column and they're just getting lazy, that's where they rest. He thinks that they rest up above the bait, kind of sunning themselves, and the bait will be, but when they want to feed, they'll go down and find those shad and tear them up. And as he was saying yesterday, eating some more pieces of lettuce is what he equated a shad is to a bass, is a couple pieces of lettuce to humans. And I think Mercer was reminding him that not everybody eats lettuce.
Well, one of the things that Kyle Welcher said yesterday is that a lot of those fish that are being brought into this deal that he targeted, they were the ones that were floating above the bait, not below it. The way that they were you're taking advantage of, one, the predatory instinct and the laziness of all creatures. If it's not going to do away with something that is just right there in his face.
Well, I think a lot of what happens is that the ones above the bait are resting. The ones below the bait are probably actively feeding. So if you can find bait higher in the water column and you see a couple of them big dots under, just get it near them. Just get it near them. They're active. They're probably going to be feeding.
And there's two trains of thought there. The higher up ones that you see, you could get your bait to that fish a lot quicker.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That's the number one deal, is getting it to a fish quickly. So the deeper ones, okay, you got the wind blowing. Does your bait get to them quick enough before it swims away? The high one, you could get it too quick.
I didn't notice where we settled in on the map there, but that's the first view I've seen of Koya with an island in the back. We watched him for, the last 3 days.
Yeah, he's right there at the mouth of Hurricane Creek.
Okay.
As it's panning right now, that is Hurricane Creek that you can see to the left where that island was, is going back towards, going back into Howson Bay. That's where that is. He's been living in that area the last couple of days. Almost kind of surprised to see him going back to that area to see if the well will produce again. But then again, he's in the top 10, and we're sitting here in these chairs.
Why are you second guessing him?
Yeah, right.
It's a lot easier to second guess people in these chairs. I'll just be honest with you.
And what's crazy watching this, is seeing that we all looked at these same areas.
Oh yeah.
We are all over these same areas, and it's so interesting to me to see guys catch them and do very well and probably win the event through the areas that I was very focused on. I knew I came out here before cutoff and got to ride around a little bit, and I saw the grass, and the abundance of grass in Howson and 6 Mile and that lower Texas side. In my mind, I'm not leaving there. The habitat's there. It's going to harbor a lot of fish, and the chips were pushed all in. And believe me, I love live scoping and I love fishing grass. I was all over these areas. Didn't see the same fish and wasn't able to catch the same fish as the guys that are in the top 10. It's kind of disheartening in a way, and there's probably a lot of guys saying the same thing right now. I was right there, It's pretty interesting.
Don't you think that Koya may have an advantage over a lot of us because he's fished in these heavily pressured places and, with people around? Because those things don't bother him.
They might bother him, but he's not communicated to us that
I don't think that they do. But I do think that he figures out ways to differentiate himself from the pack.
There's no doubt.
And that's the key for him this week, whether it's heavier, different color, whatever. He's so secretive, and we can't hardly even get a glimpse of those things, and he does it on purpose. But, because he's been in that environment where these little subtle differences make big differences.
Right.
And I can't wait to see what those are, hoping that he'll give that to us.
So
he's not.
He's not.
So walk with me. Day 2, I caught 4 keepers. I come up one short. Any keeper of any size will make day 3. I had a chance at 3 or 4 other fish that I saw on my live scope that I got my bait to, that I watched come and look at it and turn away. In my opinion, Koya's probably catching 2 or 3 of those 4. And that's the difference. Let's just say one of them's a 6-pounder, one of them's a 5-pounder, and he catches those. And to me, that's the impressive side of this is there is levels to this, and there's levels to live scoping and presenting baits to fish, and the accuracy and the technique. And I salute him, to be honest with you, for keeping everything secret. You know, he's got something special, and you know, I my hat's off to him. You know, to keep on the wraps, because you know, there's a difference.
It's hard.
It's hard.
To add on to what you're saying, Pat Schlapper yesterday was talking about the first 2 days we had a little bit more wind to contend with, and his jig head that he was throwing was a 1/4 ounce, and he thought that on day 3 his jig head was sinking a little too fast. He dropped down from a 1/4 to a 3/16, 1/16 of an ounce difference, and the first 2 fish that he threw on bit, to whereas he had been throwing on fish that did not bite. That's just like Brian was talking about. Make those slight adjustments, and that's what puts you into the top 10 and in the league. Here we got Joe Lee hooked up.
Reel him in.
Didn't take
spotted bass.
Not very big, but he's probably a keeper.
You know, and definitely it is not fast and furious. You know, these guys are not pulling up and just unloading on them. It's a hunt for an individual fish, and it seems like it's progressively getting tougher as the week goes on, unless you're in a fresh area, one of the guys that doesn't have anything to lose, that rolls around and stumbles into the freshness. Then it's like, oh, well, it is easy again. But
Yeah.
Right.
So let's talk about that fish that Jordan just caught.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if it'll help or not, but.
So, Jordan, there's no way in the world, from a winning standpoint, that fish that he just caught is going to help, right?
That's right.
But the other part of that is, I've had guys say, man, why would you even take a chance, you know? The other part of that could be a point.
Huge.
2 points.
Yep.
Huge.
Yep.
Every year. I mean, Scott Martin's not fishing the Classic by just a point or 2.
Right.
Right. And
so when we were out there in 2010 in California, at the California Delta, the first fish that I caught in practice, I didn't catch anything that was remotely close to a 12-inch fish. The first fish I caught on a Little John crankbait was just a little tiny bass, and I almost threw it back, and then I said, you know, I better measure it. I measured it, and it was 12 and 1/8. I mean, just barely 12 inches. I put it in the box, weighed that fish, because I only had 4 fish that day, because I had 3 other big ones, had that little one. I ended up winning that tournament by 1 ounce.
I remember very well.
So if sometimes you don't win the tournament at the end of the tournament, you win it at the beginning. And you know, a fish like that, say Jordan catches 4 8-pounders, maybe he does win this tournament,
right?
With that little squealer. You never know. So a lot of that strategy stuff,
I want to go back
you
out
gotta,
there deeper where I
you have to play it.
yesterday and try it.
And I don't know if the map's accurate, but it looked like Jordan might have been a little further in and a little bit to the south bank of Housing.
Looked like it.
Which is pretty cool. You know, maybe he's trying a little different zone. And, hey, we already caught one. So the confidence.
Right.
We saw him yesterday fishing those docks on the south side of Housing. I don't know if he caught anything there, but he was fishing in a little bit different areas. He shows him there in Housing, Coops in the back, Kilia's out at the mouth, and then looks like Schlapper's. It's hard to tell. Well, it looks like he might be south.
Okay, those guys are in Hurricane there, right, John?
Yeah.
Yep.
They're in Hurricane. And then they're down in Housing there, the rest of those guys.
Huh.
It's definitely
it's amazing that this is one of the biggest lakes in the country. And I mean,
where you have the habitat, you're going to have the better quality bass. And it is interesting, but because I think those are the most traditional areas where everything goes down. That's where everybody was practicing as well, Steve. I mean, we're like, do we pop back over to
Robert G.
Robert G. Yeah, he's not in that area. I feel like that you could find decent fish in most of these major creeks. But wherever you have the
numbers.
grass, you're going to have more and bigger bass. And the best population of grass is in 6 Mile and in Howson Bay and in Hurricane. As you know, practicing around the lake, there are other parts of the lake that are starting to get more hydrilla.
That's how much farther that thing's out of
and
the
I
water.
think it's just a matter of time before those areas boom.
Oh yeah.
Tell you something that was really, really upsetting to me is, you know, the amount of grass in this fishery. I was so excited, you know, like I'm going to figure them out in the grass. You know, it's pre-spawn. It doesn't get much better. You know, it's a warming trend. The grass is out to 18 foot. You got grass from the bank to 18 foot. Perfect staging place. There's going to be a mother lode somewhere, multiple places. Could not find it. I don't understand the science behind it.
It's right under his boat.
Yeah. At the top of that tree to your left.
Just 5 feet in front of his boat. It's 8 feet down.
It looks like a big one.
Yeah, it does. Daisy jig is right there in front of it, and then he's just swimming away.
Swim
I know it.
down
I know
way.
that look well, bud. I know that look. That'll get you right in this
He
chair.
smelled it, said no thanks.
He said nope. And that happens. I think a lot of it, you know, he got a little too close to that fish, and fish knew something wasn't quite right.
Ooh, there's a nice one. See it over there?
Yeah.
Top of the bait.
You know,
Yep.
what,
See, about 70 feet out.
Okay. So to
Right
the
above
right,
that. Right above that bait. Right in that
Swimming
tree.
at him.
top
Yep.
of the tree there. Okay.
He's right next to the tree.
Because there's a lot going on down here on
Yep.
this other side, too.
Yep. So that fish, I think he's trying to sneak up on that fish out there. He's about 55 feet now. So he keeps coming off, on and off. There's that fish. He's going down.
Yeah.
I'm waiting to see his bait. There goes his bait. There goes his bait. Right down to where that fish is, up above it. He's trying to draw that fish's attention, give him a little hop. Now that fish is just descending down into the depths. Again, another look I've seen
Countless times.
countless times this week.
I understand that. Look.
But, you know, as we were watching Luke Palmer yesterday, he had some of those fish kind of descend. Oh, he's got his bait down to him now. Oh, no, he picked it up. He saw some of those fish descend. His bait descended down to him. He still was able to draw those fish's attention and was able to catch a couple of those fish. So it was something that I didn't see a lot of, but the guys that are really dialed into that whole system of catching these
that bass is getting
kind of nomadic
mouthful
pre-spawn
of bait.
fish, they got it dialed.
Their average of seeing to catching is a lot higher. You know, that's the deal. And I would like to, you know, I want to get better at it.
Of course, yeah. Here's Walters. Here's another assassin that's a little bit out of range, but maybe not on Toledo Bend.
Yeah,
I mean, he
you
did
never
drop
know.
a 30-pound bag.
He looks
I
like
thought he went straight for the shorts.
Oh, man. Has he got shoes on? No.
He does.
Fish.
He's fully tucked. You can count on that. I got to get him on something because he has just abused me in the standings the last handful of years. But Patrick is just a really, really good fisherman. He's a very versatile fisherman. I mean, we've seen him kind of win all over. He's won in Texas. He won in New York. He's got multiple century belts. It looks like he's trying to work on another one. But Patrick is definitely in the zone as far as fishing goes in general. And it doesn't matter if it's a sight fishing tournament, live scope tournament, grass fishing. He's
No, he's
at the
proven
top of his
himself.
game, yeah.
I mean, there's a lot. This top 10 is strong. And that's why I think that it's interesting that Robert G is stuck over there by himself. He's the rookie of the class, right? And I don't blame him. I mean, why would you want to fish around that group of mean people?
I mean, he had a good practice strategy, I assume, and then found a big group of fish that not as many people were beating up on, and it's worked out well for him. Trey McKinney, another very, very good angler. He almost made this top 10. He was right there. Very, very good young angler. Very accomplished for only being 19 years old. Very accomplished. Looks like he's got his little
jig head minnow.
Got his little minnow on there.
Has Milliken caught one yet this morning?
I don't know. We have to check up.
We'll get the bass track out here.
Wonder if his
Let's see
fish
what we
are.
got.
Well, but I don't
blowing out
count
there for a second.
Milliken
It's not really blowing in the creek,
as
you know.
a hardcore
I know,
rookie
I wanted
like
it
I
to really,
would Robert.
I wanted it to blow
Yes,
a
sir.
little
I
more
know
to
what you're saying.
help push.
It doesn't have anything in bass track yet. He's got Chris Johnson is 2 in bass track already. Pat Schlapper with one pounder, and then Luke Palmer with a 2-pounder. And then Jordan Lee with he called that one a 1-pounder.
I tell you, if Pat can just get on a little roll this morning, man, and get some fish in the well and calm down, and he's trying to win his first event. He's fired up, and preferably the next fight's a big one. Okay,
That's right.
I can do it.
It's a quick sucker.
Because in his mind, everybody's catching 30 pounds right now. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
He may not be as paranoid as you, Brian. He may not be quite that paranoid.
If it was me, everybody's already got 30 pounds. What am I doing? I'm terrible. But, yeah, he
Looks like Walters is zeroed in on one here.
mm,
And it's interesting to watch the guys have different, kind of different philosophies on how they're presenting their bait to these guys. The most common thing that we've seen is as the jig head minnow, which is what we just got a close-up of Patrick Walters with. But we're seeing some of the other guys throw in a jerk bait. I saw Chris Johnson catch that big one yesterday on a looked like a deep diving.
He was over here.
That Spro McStick is what it looked like he was throwing. May have been a Mega Bass +2. They're very similar shape baits, but it was a deeper diving jerk bait. Got that, and he had caught some fish on that before.
oh,
There we go. Milliken's over here on the
oh,
Louisiana side.
Yeah.
there we go.
Going down here to Big Ben. See what he's going to be all about. It doesn't have anything registered in Bass Track yet, but that area may not have the best cell
big
service.
Well, one of the things that Steve Wright reported on yesterday is that Milliken had not stumbled,
Thank you, sir.
obviously. That's not a good characterization, but went in there and he had caught a 7-pounder, and he said he had cast to another 20 or 30, a gross number, and just felt like that they were coming. They were just popping up and coming.
Oof.
And
That's dangerous.
yeah,
All by himself, too, on the other side.
right.
If he can get his day going early here, he
That's-
might be.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I was saying earlier. Is that he's over here by himself, so to speak. I think that this kind of bite was happening in about every major creek on this lake. Those areas over there where the concentration of anglers are, it's just the most notorious. Probably has a little bit bigger population, but you can top 10 in multiple other areas. I couldn't find it. The rest of the field couldn't find it, but. Obviously Ben found it here in this creek. Robert G found it in that other creek. Oh, Big Ben staring at that big NBT 22-inch screen. It's amazing. I switched over to using that big screen this year, and to be able to see the detail of the fish is amazing. See, they're getting a little zero in on what he's seeing, and you can see the fish size much better. You can tell, you're like, man, that's a big one, or that's a small one, or that's a crappie. You can see that much better when that picture is extrapolated, and it's still going to be a 1080 resolution picture. That's just what you get with with that Garmin and MBT combination. A lot of guys. I think there's 20.
That screen is bigger than the first television I had.
I can believe it. Same here, and that's the. There's about 20 guys running that MBT out there on tour now. That's a big jump. It went from 1 last year to 20 this year. So that tells you kind of where. And to me, one of the biggest things is that I don't have to wear my reading glasses, Steve, when I'm out there fishing anymore to look at my depth finder and see what the water depth is, and to see if that's a bass or a shad or a crappie or what's going on. So we're going to jump over from Milliken back over to the parking lot in Housen. Looks like Alex Weatherall. Now, I got to tell you this story. I got to tell you this story. So I was fishing around Alex on day 2, and we were probably 100 yards apart, and I see him hook up on one, and I said, oh, man, he's got one. So I, caught out of the corner of my eye, look up, I watch, and this fish that looked to be as long as my leg comes up and shakes his head, and then I see his rod go up, and he goes, oh, man, I lost it. And then the fish does another tail walk with no bait in his mouth. And he's like, oh, man. I said, so I'm looking, I'm like, dude, I'd thrown a fit. And he's just reeling up his bait. He's checking his bait. Then he scanned back over there, and then I see him cast back. I said, man, there must have been a school over there. Well, about 4 or 5 casts later, no more than 2 minutes or so, he hooks up, and this fish jumps again. I said, oh, my God, there's no way that's the same fish. So he gets the fish in the boat. He holds it up. I said, yeah, that's a 6 or 8 pounder. It's giant. So then we fish closer to each other, and then all of a sudden he goes, did you see me hook and lose that fish and then turn around and catch it? I said, yes, I did. It was unbelievable. So I guess this may be Alex's his 360 that he's looking at right here, and you can.
Can you see the fish on a 360?
In certain situations, you can. It's not a live view, but really what this does is it helps paint the picture of what's going on around you.
Right.
There are certain situations, especially fishing shallow grass, fishing rock, isolated rock, fishing brush piles, things like that, where you can absolutely find the cover. And then what he's done is he's got the waypoints on top of his screen, so he can see exactly where his waypoints are. So he's got that little hard spot over there up in front of the boat where he's got a waypoint. Maybe that's somewhere that he caught one earlier, caught one in practice maybe. Maybe that's where he hooked and lost that giant and then hooked and caught it. But he told me, man, after he lost that fish, he scanned back over there. He saw the fish swim back down and then stop. He threw the first cast he threw back to it. It chased the bait again, immediately after hooking and losing it.
That feels big. That feels big.
There he is.
Oh gosh.
It feels big.
Drum? Come on.
Drummed him up.
Feels big because it's a drum.
That makes you want to throw up when that happens on Championship Sunday, man. But honestly, in the long, you correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't mind catching one like that, because then when you do hook a big one, your nerves are a little calmer. Your adrenaline doesn't spike through the roof and make you do something dumb like pull on the fish too hard or rush the fish to the boat. You're going to hook that fish and it's pulling hard. There's a percentage of your mind that's going to say, you know what, this is going to be a drum. I'm not going to take my. I'm not going to put too much pressure on it. I'm just going to fight it like I need to, and then the fish jumps or something. Then you realize it's a bass. You're already calmer than you would have been if you thought that was an 8-pounder to start with.
No, I agree 100%.
Took that striker suit off. It got him. Looked like he had that Denali suit on, the same jacket I've got. That thing will bake you if it's not cold. Coop looks like he's a little shallower. Johnson's out in the middle.
Chris has already got 3. Oh, Koya's got a 6.
Uh-oh.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody is up a little shallower there. 17 foot. Water is almost 57 degrees. This is Chris. Here, that's that newer.
You can see
Echo map. What is he? He's out there right on the edge of the grass. It looks like
couple.
6-pounder.
Yep.
That was the difference.
There's one right there, about 10 foot down, right off the break of the grass. And there's the top of the grass. And that's hydrilla out there in Housen that they're fishing. the edges of.
So which is the top of the grass and which is?
That's the top of the grass because you can see the
left,
the depth
right.
is like 14 feet, and then you can see the grass comes up to about 5 feet from the surface. So he's on top of the grass now. It's hard to tell what his boat position is. Yeah. So he looks like he may have drifted up on the grass. I don't know if he's throwing out or if he's out where the grass ends or if he's throwing over top of the grass. He had this one spot over here in Housen. He said that there was just a ton of 1 to 3 pound bass. So he's kind of had this area at his disposal. Is what it sounds like.
And I noticed that in practice as well. I would get near the grass, and instead of, seeing them on the edge, on the bottom, or in the holes, you'd see quite a few just swimming on top of it. The grass is 14, 13 foot tall.
It's a great one.
Oh, boy.
Oh, boy. Yep.
One hook in the back. It's a good one. You can just see he's got the back.
It looked like he may have been throwing the jerkbait.
I don't know if he's 4.
He had a big one yesterday just on the back hook, and then as it was fighting, it hung the other hooks. So that's probably what he's trying to do here, is bend that jerkbait back around and hook that fish again to give him a little more.
Not as big as I thought.
There he is. He got it.
Take him. He's had some more friends down there.
Sometimes you can. Yeah, that wasn't the hook. Was hooked good.
Yeah, Clun used to say, get them up to the boat and do a figure 8.
Honestly, that's exactly
that's
what.
how you do it.
Yep, you kind of bend that crankbait or that jerkbait back around and stick another hook in them. And that's easier said than done, I promise you.
Not for Rick Clun.
Oh, not for Chris Johnston either.
Yeah.
I mean, he just said, just bring him on in the boat. It's done. When you hook them on top of the head when their mouth can stay closed, they do fight a lot harder. So that's why he thought that fish was bigger than it was. Chris is back with that jerkbait this morning.
Yeah, those fish that were roaming over top of the grass, he's obviously figured out how to catch a few of them. And, once again, numerous guys probably saw the same thing and, probably same areas.
Yep.
And just didn't figure out how to get them. And it was just the weirdest thing, to see the way they were behaving around the grass, on top of it. It's just, I don't know, a little bit different.
Well, let's change the topic a little bit. Chris is one that we're watching right now. You're friends with Chris and Corey, as most of us are. I heard the conversation yesterday when with all of the pundits on live on Fox Sports were talking about potential Angler of the Year anglers. Who's in contention? Because Welcher is not in contention after the first tournament. He finished near the bottom. I think his name was on the same page as mine. So Angler of the Year is he's not going to be a repeat, more than likely. Highly doubtful he's going to repeat as Angler of the Year.
Don't say that too loud. He's walking up behind.
So now, that's okay. He knows what he did. He knows what he did. So he knows we're talking about him. So the conversation is, in my opinion, this guy is going to be one to watch right here. Is Chris Johnston. He is very versatile, very seasoned. He's finished. He almost won it a few years back when Scott Canterbury won it. He was right on his heels, and he is in contention. We're not going to any fishery, in my opinion, that is going to treat him wrong.
He's got one coming.
Well, I will say,
who's your pick for Angler of the Year?
I'll have to think about it, but to give to your point, for Chris to get off to a really good start, like especially if he goes over to Fork and does well. I know Chris is very, very competitive. The brothers make each other competitive.
Didn't do it.
If he could have a nice, AOI placement after the first two, I think it would be on his mind and drive him pretty hard. So, plus going up north at the end of the year. So he would definitely be up there for sure.
Close.
Luke Palmer. Luke Palmer's been fishing really, really good as well.
Yep.
I will say that there's been more than one AOY title that looked like it was a bomb on first tournament.
I agree.
Aaron Martin's
Yep.
was a prime example.
Yep. Went to the Sabine and stunk it up out of the gate. And I mean, basically, if Kyle does what he did last year for the rest of the year, it's his.
Right.
It's his again. So
You know,
he's not out of it by any means, but statistically speaking, and going with who we're looking at.
Right.
To your point,
Well,
Brian,
Charles Moore about the
there's
same.
Luke
That
Palmer,
catfish
who's
instantly.
very much a steady Eddie guy now.
Oh, yeah, he's going up north, reeling in a smallmouth,
that was
huge
cool.
bags,
But-
top tens, and
Yeah,
he's
one of
a
them
sleeper
fish
with a
out, he
scope.
messed around.
He's one of the
I lost a
very,
couple
very,
right off the
very
bat,
good
but
guys right now with the
really
live scope.
Yeah, I mean,
found a
and
big
even
school and
before,
They
let's see what
they
he's
come
talking
up
about.
on it.
Look at that
I
bait
got
right
a
there.
good one right here chasing it.
Ooh, Jesus.
Oh, God.
Come up out of a chair. Watch.
It's so fun.
Explain what you're seeing, because I'm
You
not
can see his bait that's just above that fish, and the fish is showing interest, and he's following it.
There it is.
You can see that that little flicker is his bait. That fish is just chasing it and following it, but not eating it.
It's like in 26, 27 foot, and the fish is 20 foot deep. Showed interest.
Yep. And there's another one behind it, a little deeper.
It's so
Mr.
much
David,
fun,
they
though,
really want
Steve.
the
Like
little
if you
bait.
see one and your bait's not even
Maybe
10
today
feet
might
to
be
it,
the day since
it's
it's
going
kinda
towards the
calm
fish,
today.
and
They
you
might-
watch the fish streak, and you
They might want to
and you
play
just
with
feel
it.
it tick. I mean, it's pretty cool,
Coach,
man.
I'd really like to somehow catch a big bag.
So there's his bait following back down. He's trying to.
I did find
The
a
fish
pretty
is
good
going back
wad
the
this
other way.
morning, But as soon as they come up, of course, I lose the dang thing. But they're moving a lot this morning.
We're gonna have to talk to Luke about losing
really
fish.
more than they have.
If he's gonna win this Angler of the Year thing like he's talking about. He lost some giants on the first day. He could have had a monster bag.
Well, I mean, that is part of the deal.
You got to execute.
I mean, and not that, and that's not a flippant part of what I mean by that is you can go out there and you can see them on that machine, but that machine ain't gonna catch them.
Oh yeah,
That's a fact.
And so
you
first
gotta
you
know
got
what
to
you're
get them
looking at.
bite, and then second you got to get them in the boat.
Yeah, and then you got to know what you. And you, I mean, there's a lot of other fish out there. As we saw Pat catch that drum. There's catfish. There's crappie. Just in this lake, you go to other lakes and there's pike and walleye and muskie and everything else to look at.
You notice Koya when he's fighting a fish, he doesn't play around.
No, he jacks them.
I mean,
he gets them in there.
Get him in.
You got that bait right above that fish right there. And the fish is not. Still just kind of meandering back down towards the bottom.
So basically, they've been hitting the head already.
Yes.
It's just there's that possibility, but a lot of times not every fish is just active or interested in a bait. They're just not in a feeding mood. It doesn't have anything to do with them being caught or beat on or nothing. They're just not in the right mood.
And if we know anything about fishing, which obviously Live Scope's teaching us, we really don't. But we also want to believe that some of these are heading towards the bank every day.
Yep.
We want to feel
Look at
that, like it makes sense.
Interesting.
There it is. That fish is coming right up to it.
Oh, tough ones.
You can't talk them into biting. I've tried it. I mean, you can cuss them.
Please,
you can
please,
sweet
please.
talk them. It doesn't either.
There's no way.
There's neither is effective. So he's going through his different bait lineup. So now he's throwing, looks like maybe a jig. See, this is a good, with it being not windy, he can sit in this one spot and throw different baits at him. Well, he
I
was.
gonna do some
I think he was
sweet
trying to get
vibration
that fish's
there.
attention.
When she come at it, I thought she was gonna eat it.
The jig's definitely making a push on live scope. Don't you agree?
Yeah, I think Tyler Williams showed a lot of people that can be an effective live scope bait as well. That sucker's down there near the bottom, just hanging out.
I feel like this zone, this housing, these fish, you know, no doubt they've been pressure pretty heavy. To really stumble into a fresh school in there is going to be difficult.
Yep.
But when you're leading the tournament, it's very hard to leave. You know,
or you're in the top 5. You know, you're like
you're going to ride the horse that got you there.
Mm-hmm. You're like Luke. You're in 4th place right now. You got 3 for 4 pounds.
He like checked up and then said nope.
Pat's got 2 fish now. For his last one was a 3-pounder.
Well, that's decent, yeah.
Keoya's still sitting on that one 6-pounder.
They say
He's just doing that.
Pat's hooked up right now.
Going to Pat here. Going past Pat. Going over to Coop. Coop looks like he's fishing a little shallower.
You better not be throwing a chatterbait in the grass.
Brian's he's throwing a round eye out there, Brian. That's a personal joke between us. And it does not look like a round eye, so you're okay. You know, Brian and I met.
Take your time.
Cooper,
I didn't give you a 2-cast heads
was
up.
back in 2019. He was, I think, 19 at the time, maybe, at a Mercury event up at Fond du Lac. We went up there to take a tour of the whole factory, and we met Cooper, just as nice and humble, and you know. So ever since then, I started following him on social media, and kind of watched his journey through the Opens, winning that Open on I believe it was Cherokee, and so it was cool to watch him. And he, like I said, he's very humble. To see him out here doing well, obviously he's you know, a very good northern angler, but here he is down here in Texas with a top 10 to start the year. Cooper's another one. He's a very hard worker, puts his time in. Not going to be surprised to see his name in the top 10 in AOI towards the end of the season.
Pat needs to get one.
Sounds like he's got that old drone on him.
No. And that wears on you, you know, right?
Yeah, he's catching some fish, but to me, like we talked about earlier, they're not ones you want to weigh in if you're going to win the tournament. Right.
No. I wouldn't. I'd like to stay away.
I agree. I think, to me, what makes Bassmaster Elite Series the most interesting is that everybody's got their philosophy on what they need to do to win, because it's you against the fish, technically. In order for you to accomplish what you need to and win the event, it's you against the fish. It's not technically you against the other anglers, because you can't do anything to affect what they do. The only thing that you can do is make adjustments, different jig heads, different areas, different depths, different presentations, in order to fool and catch more fish. So it's you against the fish. I just really, really enjoy that aspect of this, and to watch Pat, Keoya, Palmer, Chris Johnson, all these guys making those adjustments between them and the fish. To me, that's what makes the Bassmaster Elite Series the Elite Series. Right. Well, it's going to be interesting to watch the rest of this play out. This is a place where big fish are coming. We know it. If it's not this hour, it's going to be the next hour and the next hour. So I'm looking forward to seeing it happen.
100%. Really cool.
We're going to go to a break, and when we come back, we're going to cut these guys loose. And,
well, we're going to go to break because Bowman, your mic isn't working right now. But yeah, we're going to go to break. We're going to come back with 2 more anglers. I appreciate you, Steve, having us on, and Bassmaster for having Brian and I on. We look forward to watching the rest of this Gamakatsu Bassmaster Elite Series from Toledo Bend play out.
I joined the Bass Club in that same time frame that Toledo was being impounded and filled up. And my first Bass Club tournament was the Pasadena Bass Club, just south of Houston. And my first tournament was on Toledo Bend. And of course, you can't imagine, I mean, the timber that was in that lake. Nobody can unless you saw it. I mean, you literally could not see the other shoreline. I mean, a squirrel could literally go from Texas to Louisiana and never touch the water or ground. I mean, obviously, he'd just from tree to tree to tree. It was amazing. I had a, hate to even admit this, but my first bass boat didn't have a troll motor. You know, that shows you what I knew about bass fishing at that point. I'll never forget that because I know how much timber is under the water even now.
Tacos.
Can Billy come out to play?
Yes!
The all-new Tacoma. Toyota. Let's go places.
We believe in bass fishing, but we believe in bass catching even more. We make products for hardcore anglers. We design, build, test, and redesign until it's right. We cut our teeth on 15-pound fluoro and 30-pound braid. We only admit to bleeding when we get bass done. We're here for serious anglers. We are serious anglers because those of us that earn this badge are untouchable. We are Bass Mafia.
Buy more, save more with Lowrance. Are you ready to take your fishing to the next level? Get a huge rebate of up to $4,000 when you purchase selected gear from Lowrance and a whole range of leading marine brands. Scan the on-screen code or visit Lowrance.com to level up your boat today.
It's the moment when everything is on the line and precision, power, and control make all the difference. A moment over 20 years in the making, anchored on loyalty, trust, and support that goes beyond all expectations. A relentless pursuit of perfection. All born from a revolutionary idea to help you rule the water. Power Pole.
One look and you'll know. These fired-up next-gen machines are engineered like no other. Precision-tuned to excel under pressure, V.A.S.S boats have revolutionized what quality, performance, innovation, and a true rough water ride can be. Check out the long list of advantages at V.A.S.SBoats.com. After all, some things turn your head, others ignite your soul.
growing up, I used to watch them every Sunday on ESPN.
We've had our leaders trying to hang on for dear life. We've had some other anglers make a furious charge in some cases.
And to be able to fish the Elite Series, truly means everything to me, because I've truly set my whole life up to do this.
In the top 10 fish of championship Sunday, it all comes down to this.
And I feel like now I'm there fishing against the best in the world.
Got your eye on a new Yamaha outboard? Then get to your dealer now for the Power and Performance Sales Event. For a limited time, purchase a new Yamaha 30 to 450 horsepower outboard and get up to 7 years of Yamaha warranty protection free. Or earn up to $200 in dealer credit on eligible 2.5 to 25 horsepower models. With amazing offers like these, Yamaha Power and Performance has never been a better value.
When you go rogue, a top 20 playlist doesn't set the mood. You do. Rogue nicotine pouches. Great taste. No compromises. Go rogue.
All right, welcome back to Gamakatsu Bassmaster Elite Series Toledo Bend. What an event we've had this live mix. And we're sitting here with AOI, the Angler of the Year, Brandon Collins, Kyle Wilcher. And really, guys, y'all, you know the drill. Tell me what you think's going to happen today.
You know, what I'm looking for is the guy who's made a couple changes from yesterday, because it looked like all the guys who, like a lot of guys caught that 14, 15 pound yesterday and kind of made it into the top 10. So I'm anticipating somebody making a big change today and finding those fish that have moved up a little bit.
Big change. Yeah. Do you think a big change is the deal?
Only for the guys that are in the 5th through 10th probably.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. And there's big gaps between the top and the bottom, but we're also on Toledo Bend, and there's giants that live around here. You listen to guys like Luke Palmer talk about their day one and the stories of what could have been, of what he hooked and lost. There's potential for a pushing 40-pound bag out there. They're swimming around, and it's really what Kyle said, like the guy that's going to be making slight adjustments, whether that's just moving a little bit shallower, maybe he's been fishing the outside grass line and he moves to the inside grass line, or by the luck of draw, a new group of fish shows up to one of these guys, right? There's always that element that we can't control of all of a sudden Pat Schlapper, he's got 3 fish for 5.5 right now, and he doesn't see anything in the next 2 hours, and then all of a sudden he pans over and there's just a group of fish that start showing up, and that can happen. I saw it happen on day 2. I was in kind of a mouth of a little secondary creek, bunch of bait around. I was seeing a few fish here and there, and then all of a sudden this school of 15 bass just showed up, and they're just easing along, moving around through the shat. And as soon as I got a cast on one, the first one was nearly a 4-pounder. And of course, they'd never stopped swimming. The rest of the school continued to swim, and that's the hardest part, is that by the time you mess with that one, the other ones can be gone. But it sounded like, if you look that map we saw there for a sec, Milliken's kind of just off on his own this morning. He had the biggest day yesterday of any of the guys in the top 10 currently, and it looks like he may be fishing a little bit shallower. So he could be fishing an area where those fish are coming to him, which will be really interesting to see if that holds out or that continues. I'm really curious to see what the bite window is going to be today.
Looks like there's a little one around 750. You can see, 750, 755.
Yeah.
There was a few, but, it looks like a lot better fishing conditions out there today. As far as maybe not making them bite, but it's going to be like you can see the guys fishing. It's going to be a lot easier to present your bait to the fish.
Yeah.
So, if they can find those fish that are active and feeding, I think they're going to be a little more efficient today. Especially like where Pat's at. It looked like he was on the main lake. It's going to be a lot easier to fish for those fish.
Well, what's crazy is just watching this footage where Schlapper's at. He's way off the bank, so it's not like he's in a protected pocket. It's glass calm.
Right.
The flags are standing straight out where we're at right now.
Right. It's just such a big lake.
Yeah, it's such a big lake that they're just not getting any of the wind down there. So we're getting a look at Milliken. He's definitely still fishing offshore, so he's not. Be curious to see if we get a look at how shallow he's fishing.
It looks like only him and the Gee is on the Louisiana side.
Yeah.
Everyone else is in Texas because that's where most of the grass is.
Yep.
So it looks like they've kind of did something different. And those fish in Texas have been super pressured. You can see the weights kind of tapering off over there. So it could be dangerous if they get over there and just stick to the same game plan with some more fresh fish,
Let me ask you this. So there was another major tournament here a couple weeks ago. Majority of all those, like the top weights, came from the Louisiana side.
Right.
Why do you think that this week that most of our top weights are from the Texas side?
I'll tell you why I didn't fish in Louisiana is because I caught a lot of 2-pounders.
Which is why they would have had.
Right. And
yeah.
I saw more in Louisiana.
Yeah.
It seemed like.
Yeah.
But it seemed like the potential for 25 plus was in Texas around that grass.
Yep.
That's what it seemed like to me. That's why I didn't fish in Louisiana. Even though the little bit that I did, I saw a lot of fish, but I never caught a 4-pounder over there. Obviously they are, but it just kind of made me want to go back. And the grass just gives me confidence for big bags anyways. So I think it's just a different format. And some of those guys a couple weeks ago caught some really big bags.
Yep.
But for the most part, whenever you get in a lake like this around the grass, especially that grass that grows out that deep, that's just where those fish that are over 6 pounds are going to want to live,
I agree 100%. I figured it'd be the combination of that plus slightly warmer.
Yep.
A couple weeks later, more fish transitioning, pushing toward that grass. Because that's got to be the healthiest spawning area in the entire body of water currently.
And then if you just look at the lake and you have no history on it at all, you can see like the 2 major creeks on the entire lake, with grass in them. Like if you just circle a area of the lake that's going to have the biggest ones, that's it.
Yeah. And it only takes you maybe 15 to 20 minutes of internet research to find out that 6 Mile and Housen come up in every single article that talks about any top 10s in a tournament or anything. Those generally are constantly playing in that. Be really. I wonder if Milliken's caught any on a glide this week. It's kind of hard to see where we're at right now.
I don't know if that's a bass or not, but I would sure like to find out.
On his deck.
So you're really good with a glide bait, right? But
all right, we're about to.
In my opinion, whenever you're seeing single fish, I don't feel like it's as powerful of a bait because, like, if I'm fishing around a school of fish, I may want to throw a glide in there and catch the bigger one. But if I'm throwing to an individual fish, I may want to throw a more finesse bait that I feel like you have a higher probability of getting them to bite on. Is that kind of how you feel with those singles?
Yeah, I think the difference is when you start looking at size.
Yep.
And that's the biggest thing is you get to a point where there may be a fish that's big enough. He's like, nah, I don't know. And where a big glide bait will just trigger a fish's brain differently than a 2 or a 3-inch minnow or something. And that's going to be a really easy meal for him to eat. And he may just be like, oh, yeah, it's in my face. Eat it. But a big swim bait, generally that's one of those things where you may pitch a jig head minnow on him first thing, and he kind of looks at it and doesn't react, and you pitch it at him again, he doesn't really do anything. You're like, all right, now I'm going to throw the glide bait at him and see if he's going to actually attack it or not.
So my approach is similar, and if you throw the glide first and he follows it, you cannot go back with a minnow.
No.
He's done then because
Freak
he's
down there on
he's
that
triggered on
tree.
something that big.
Yep.
Just swam in from the ocean out
If-
there. She's really tough
But
to
it-
see,
it
but I
does
got a good
seem
glimpse of
like,
what she was a second
To
ago.
me, your odds are better.
And I'm throwing a 16
if that
ounce jig head,
fish
so it
is
takes
also
2.5
set
months
up
to get down there.
ambush
Oh my
something.
God, she's got a
around cover.
Yes,
right
correct.
below.
So just a roaming bass out there over top of the grass or something like that. He's not quite set up in that ambush mode, but if there's one sitting next to a tree or a brush pile, or he's right on the edge of a steep drop or somewhere where he can be set up and then ambush that prey, that's also a situation where I'd probably lean on the glide a little bit more.
Right.
But then typically they're going to fall a little bit slower also, so your odds of getting them onto that, getting that cast onto the fish can be a lot tougher.
So judging by the map, you can see that a lot of the guys are in the exact same area, and Milliken was in this area for the first 2 days for sure because I fished in there and I saw him. And then today you can see that he's across the lake and he's on the furthest back kind of secondary point. So that creek had two arms that split off, and he was on the point that kind of led into both of those arms. So he's definitely made an adjustment targeting those like immediate pre-spawn fish. Like the last place those fish are going to kind of hold up before they spawn, that's where he's fishing at today when everybody else is kind of hanging on to the first 2 days of is what it seems like. Even though they've been productive all three, Milliken's the one that made the biggest change so far.
Now, it may be hard to judge on the map, but from what I understand, most everybody that is down there is on the north side of housing.
Yep.
Why do you think that is? Like, there's nobody on the south side of housing, and they're all on the north side of housing. You think just because it's getting more sunlight, those north, south-facing pockets and stuff are maybe a little bit warmer, or does the contour line just set up better? Like, you look at that,
so
they're not just in housing; they're all on
that side of housing,
the north shore
of
housing.
So, like where Patrick Walter's at, and then tapering into Fujita, there's a giant flat, like a huge flat that goes out there, and then that's the biggest pocket off of housing is that hurricane.
Yeah.
So, to me, whenever you look in there, it's got the most flats, it's got the most ditches, and it's got a lot of the deepest water out there where Fujita's fishing. So it looks like where it should go down in housing. So unfortunately, the other side where there's no dots is where I spent most of my time. So that's the problem right there. But I mean, whenever you look out on the map, there's just so much flat stuff close to that deep water and so many ditches and then a ton of grass that grows out super deep. So I mean, that's kind of, I feel like, the recipe there that they caught on to super quick.
Mm-hmm. It's funny. I fish in housing, and I've always caught them better on that side,
right,
on the north side of it. And I think it has to do exactly what you said. It's those big flats that hold. It just holds the bait, holds the right cover, the right contour lines. It's just, it has more diversity compared to the other side, even though it's the same creek arm. I don't know.
Well, one of the things that you said yesterday was the impact that y'all have learned what the wind will do while you're watching these fish.
Mm-hmm.
And that bank that they're on is the prevailing wind side.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the south and west winds hit that.
When it's protected from the cold wind.
South and east.
Right. So typically when we have a south wind is warmer, and then you get the north wind, the temps are generally a little bit cooler. So most of that is protected from those cooler north winds. I would say that has something to do with it, right? The sun's not getting straight up and down. It still has a bit of an angle at it this time of year, so those
It is interesting. I love the fact that you noticed that. I mean, it's been right there in front of us for, us watching this for the last few days, but, you key right in on that. And the rest of us just kind of go right over it.
We're always trying to figure out
I know.
Why?
Yeah,
Why
no,
we're
I
sitting
that's
here
why
and
I'm
why
saying
they're not.
That's why I love having you and Kyle on here. Is just you see those things and give you an opportunity to say, "Oh, yeah."
And we're still at such an infancy of like forward-facing sonar. It's been around for years.
Yeah.
I mean, you go all the way back to Panoptics, and it's been quite a long time. But I feel like we're in the infancy of understanding its capabilities and like how other boat traffic affects those bites and really understanding fish movement.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we talked a little bit yesterday about how a lot of the theories are proven to be right, and then a lot of them are debunked. And
right.
No, that's not actually what happens.
I'll tell you what scares me. It really does. I mean, and maybe it's not scary, just like thinking, oh, my gosh, is that it has been so good at debunking and so good at showing us things, so good at teaching us. And I don't even think they scratched the surface on technology yet.
Yes. I mean, it's really – so it's been around for 6 or 7 years. It's only been as good as it is now for 2 or 3. Maybe 3 solid years where you could be as efficient as you are now as far as –
It's going to get better.
And it's going to get better and better and better. And, I mean, it is alarming how much we're learning how fast, you know?
Yeah. I like the mysteries, dude.
I'm a fan. I'm a fan of the mystery. There's also a little security when you blast off in a tournament, though, where you know where there's a bunch swimming around. You know, it lets you sleep a little better at night whenever you know, hey, I'm about to pull up and I'm at least throw in front of some, you know?
I love when it's like they're on this rock pile.
Yeah.
And all night you're thinking, man, I just can't get to that. Can't wait to get to that rock pile. But it's always, I'm curious if you're this way too. Before day one, I'm always like, are they still going to be there?
Yeah.
You know, you just practiced on Wednesday, found them, they were there,
Right,
loaded
let's make a
up.
move.
Thursday morning, you're like, man, I don't know if they're
We're
going
gonna
to
run
be
out
there.
there to the
Every
might
boat
not.
that turns left, you're like, are they
Channel
going
20.
there?
Yeah.
You know?
And then after day one, you're like, yep, they're going to be there for the next 4 days. You know, you go there, you crush them on Thursday. All of a sudden, your brain just switches, and you're like, yep, they're going to be here the whole tournament.
It is different whenever you're actually in the tournament. It just changes,
Yeah.
you know, what you found.
Yeah, and it's there's always the mystery of what everybody else found.
Yeah.
Because you can go out there and catch piles and piles and piles of fish, and you're like, man, I can catch 17, 18 pounds all day long with my hands tied behind my back. And you get back, and you're like, 18 pounds is 56th place.
Right.
You know, and like that's not good enough. And that's really the thing that you have to pay attention to
Trying to pick me one
at
out
this
off
level
grass
is
edge real quick.
what is that baseline?
There was a couple up there
What
shallow,
is
but
going to be kind of that minimum that you have to get
They
to,
still
and then
bite like
how do you
this, I
make
don't know.
adjustments to get
I think
past
you're still
that?
better off out here.
It's crazy how lakes have a threshold that is like above average.
Yep.
And then like here, everybody knew in practice 17 pounds a day was going to, you know, probably be the cut weight. Everybody you asked, that's what they said. It's just crazy how, you know, you kind of get that feel that like, you know, like when we go to Champlain, it's like 18 a day is like the threshold. When you do better than that, you're starting to do above average.
Yep.
You know, when you get to 20, you're doing pretty well above average. It's just, I always find it weird that certain lakes have that threshold where it's like, you know, way easier to catch 17 than 19.
Yep.
Like exponentially easier to catch 17 than 19.
Yeah, for sure. And what I've noticed is any lake that has a slot limit, it's always right there, like at that slot.
Yeah.
You know, or that's always where your population of fish seem to be.
Yep.
And that just goes to show like the management that the fisheries and wildlife does have an impact on a body of water. You know, here we've got a 14-inch minimum, and it seems like there's a lot of fish around that 13 3/4 to 14.5-inch size limit.
Yep. Well, next week we're going to Fork, which has a slot limit. So as long as they're all 23.5, I'll be fine there.
Yeah. Well, there we'll be able to you can weigh them all.
You can weigh them and throw them back.
Yeah. You can weigh them all there, which I would say the top 10, 95% of their fish will probably be within that slot limit.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because I mean, there it takes a 7.5, 8 pounder to be over the slot. You know.
Yeah. So Skeeter always holds their boat owners tournament on Lake Fork in the summer, and I've worked that event, and have seen 7.5 pounders come in and clear it and be over that length limit, be 24 inches plus. And I've seen guys bring in 9s and 10s that are 23.5 and don't touch it. And it never fails. There's always some guy that comes in. I don't know if his ruler got bent or what, or he just catches a 10. He's like, that thing's got to be over 24 inches.
If I catch a 10, I'm bringing him in. You got to write me a ticket.
Yep. And they do. The game warden's sitting there going, nope.
I've watched some of the videos of it, and I've seen them. The game warden go back and check the ruler and see what's wrong, and it's like, no, he's just short.
Yep. He's just a short one.
You can see these guys that are making a lot of multiple casts to the fish this morning. That, to me, that's been my experience whenever you're trying to catch them, deeper than like 15 with low light.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like it takes the perfect cast to really get those fish to even see that small of a bait. So you see Palmer a while ago. You can see a lot of them. Milliken was making multiple casts. It's when you're fishing that deep, the light penetration is so low. You really have to get that right in front of those fish, and that's why a lot of these guys are chasing them around so much right now.
But it seemed like to me in practice, there was a bite window first thing.
But they were high.
Where those fish got high.
I noticed that
and
also.
You could catch those ones. I never saw that in the tournament.
I never saw it either. I started in a place where I saw a bunch in practice, and I caught 1 3.5 pounder, and there was no more high. Like that, every other one was in 25 feet of water. And that should have been my clue. But instead, I try to run around and find them high. But it definitely changed.
Yeah, I think we had mentioned that yesterday for those that weren't listening, of the wind having a big effect on that, and just pushing those fish down. Even though you look at on paper, it's a warming trend. The temperatures are warmer every day since we've been here, but that wind has an effect where it's not letting those fish get up high.
This might catch up to him. Am I going to just miss
Is that Robert?
Oh, my
Cooper?
gosh.
No. I can't tell. There's enough glare on the screen. I can't see it.
Oh, it's Witherell.
Yeah.
Witherell.
Yeah.
He told me that story that John Cruz told this morning. Alex was the guy right behind me in the weigh-in line, and he told me about it. He said he watched that fish, because obviously these guys are around a bunch of grass. He said he followed that fish for about 5 minutes, and he said right before it disappeared into the grass, his bait got right to it, and she swam up there and ate it.
He just swam right by it. Goodness.
And, I mean,
That's when
essentially
you're living right, boys.
That fish got him into the top 10.
Oh, yeah.
Right, because he probably called out a 3-pounder.
Yeah.
5-pound upgrade. It's not always, the fish that you caught on day 3 that gets you inside that cut.
Oh, yeah.
Or,
It's day 2, day 1, every fish counts. John Cruz was talking about that. He won that tournament in the California Delta. The first day he had 4 fish, and one of them was a squeaker.
Mm-hmm.
But it was enough. And he almost threw it back.
Yeah.
And he won the tournament by 1 ounce.
How many points did you win by last year in AOY?
I'm not 100% sure. I think it was like 20 or 25.
Yeah. That's
like
not very many.
Yeah, it's not many. Yeah.
That's one 8-pound
stumble.
bite.
Yep.
That's one big stumble.
Yeah.
That's right.
So the reason I ask is because I've won by 14 and 16 points. And both of those times, I can look back at multiple fish catches over the year where one bite was worth 16 points or 14 points. You don't get that one bite, you don't win AOY.
There we go.
Wow.
Right, and I'm sure that happened to you several times where one decision or you made one cast and that fish came up and bit your bait and it was a 4-pounder and you called out a 2 and you go back and you look at the leaderboard and you're like, that moved me up 25 places.
Right. Absolutely.
And that's
that little barry minnow. we go. First fish on the board.
Oh,
Looks
looks
like we got
healthy.
that real big one that was
I can't hear anything they're saying.
running
But
around, but he was just going way too fast for it.
it's over 3 pounds.
Okay, there we go. First fish. That other one,
So
I
he-
was
he said-
chasing, and then all of a sudden I saw one, like I was saying, like 6 feet up, right below the surface, and it was just sitting there. And those are the ones that are so easy to catch. So, gave up on the big one and just stopped and threw to that one and caught that one.
All the way up to 4, yeah, 13,
So,
10.
just got to cover water today and try to do more of that.
So, yeah, look at that. 753, 802, 804, 819.
The window opening.
Was it bite window, or did he just happen to get in the right place? I would say there's a little bit of a bite window. And 802 was a 4.7, and 804 was a 4-pounder.
Yep.
I mean, those could have been nearly back-to-back casts. So he's got
Getting toasty out
2
here,
of the right bites.
Definitely 2 of the right ones. Him and Coop had the biggest bags yesterday, right?
Yep.
And they both are the furthest back in creeks today.
You know, off pants.
It's interesting.
Coop's the furthest back in Howson, on the map, and then Milliken's off doing his own thing the furthest back also. So,
Yeah, it's supposed to be real hot.
Yeah, I mean,
which is nice.
and you
'cause
look, Schlapper
I feel like
has
every
a
time I've
limit,
been to Texas,
but it's not
it's
even
been
for
cold
9
this
pounds.
year.
right.
Did those big fish finally say,
When I went to
we're
France, it was
going,
cold.
we're making a move?
Finally, I went to France.
And not
the week
all of them.
before the tournament.
I know not all of them,
Yeah,
but
for-
this
No, for
group
that,
of fish
Caperlin company
maybe made that, started to
doing
make
a
that next
sponsorship
push.
deal with it's a buoy, doing a sponsorship deal with them, and they flew me out there. And
Well,
that was
Kolya
like the
just
week
caught a
that everybody
6
could be in
at
the
825.
office. So I was like,
He's got
I'm
one
like,
fish
oh,
now
man,
for
it's like
6.
the week before the event,
So I would say right now he's the most dangerous.
Oh,
'Cause he's
for
got
sure.
1 for 6.
Yeah.
really cool 'cause it's gonna
And
be
I
like
haven't
design
gotten a chance to really watch what he's doing, but just hearing other guys talk, it sounds like he's fishing a little bit different.
Yep.
More bottom oriented, but I have not seen a lot of footage of him fishing yet to really get an idea of how he's fishing.
I've heard from some of the guys that fish around him that they felt like he was able to catch them from the bottom of timber. You know,
Yep.
some of those pieces of timber have big root systems. You know, and maybe he's keying on that, or you know, some fish that other people just can't see when you're going really fast.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Frick. Messed that fish up, I think.
Seems like Alex is kind of sliding toward the shore, like
Right.
toward the land a little bit closer and closer.
And it happens naturally whenever you're out there using forward-face sonar because you kind of just follow the fish.
Yeah.
You know, whenever you see one, you follow
Yeah.
it, then you see another one. So you just kind of naturally migrate with them, you know.
Next thing you know, you're just right up against the bank.
Right. There's one on bed.
Here they are.
Hey, well, look at here.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Well, here we are, and we got Brandon and Kyle. We'll continue to have them for the rest of the hour, but we're going to need to take a break, and we hope you'll stay with us on Live Mix.
Discover the Dakota Lithium DL Plus 135 amp-hour battery. With dual-purpose 135 amp-hour deep cycle capacity and an impressive 1,000 cold cranking amps, this innovative battery is equipped with even heat technology, allowing charging even in temperatures below 32 Fahrenheit, and boasts power gauge Bluetooth connectivity for real-time monitoring. Dakota Lithium, engineered to power your passion from bow to stern.
Hunger is contagious with Bass.
Playing off a fish's instincts, the Hydro Wave incorporates recorded sound vibrations that a fish would naturally hear or feel, provoking them to act.
Look at that. Look, look, look.
Pre-programmed with sounds and settings that let you fine-tune what the fish hears.
Gosh, what a bite.
Whether you're matching the hatch,
Look at that thing.
presenting something new, or just trying to dial up the excitement when you found a school, the Hydro Wave provokes for extra bites.
It's time to buy Safe Fish, now until March 31st. Skeeter is offering rebates of up to $5,000 on 2023 and 24 models, or your choice of Yamaha factory financing, with rates as low as 4.99% or 5.99% with 0 down, 0 payments, and 0 interest for 90 days for qualified buyers. With Buy Safe Fish, there's never been a better time to get into a new Skeeter boat. But this fantastic offer won't last long, so stop into your local Skeeter Boats dealer today before this deal gets away. Skeeter Boats. Eat, sleep, fish.
Out here, it takes a certain type. The type who's always the first one out. The type who knows, deep down, everyone else is just fishing for second. Enter the Apex Series. See more fish. Seize more victories. Settle for nothing less. With unrivaled clarity, it's the top fish finder for the most demanding type of angler. Only from Humminbird.
It's definitely a lot colder today.
Man, I really need to make this cut. I need to make up points quick.
Positive mental attitude.
I hope they stay where I found them.
Are they even pulling water?
Too far. I hope nobody else.
Man, it's too windy.
The water's too high.
Avco, keeping you comfortable on the outside, no matter how you're feeling on the inside.
Have you considered purchasing new electronics for your rig? The type of mounts you choose to protect your investment should be part of the decision-making process. No matter if you prefer 1, 2, or 3 graph mounts up front, Beatdown Outdoors has a solution for you. Adjustable, versatile, rigid, and made in the USA. What's your ultimate electronics setup? Check out the full selection of Beatdown Outdoors products, and remember, you can't beat a beatdown.
When there's miles of water in front of you and hundreds of feet below, you need a boat with the chops to dominate, no matter the conditions. With the strength and technology to overcome the elements and the competition. Ranger Boats, still building legends, one at a time.
That's like an 11, actually.
Tugboat! With the sport of bass fishing becoming more and more popular, the fish are getting more educated and tougher to catch. The choice of Yozuri's top tournament pros is the new Super Fluoro and Super Braid combination. Made in Yozuri's private factory in Japan, Super Fluoro is designed specifically to be used as leader material and comes in sizes as small as 4-pound test. It's extremely invisible and abrasion resistant. Super Fluoro now gives the advantage back to the fisherman.
In 2009, it all started with this 721 Pro XP and a passion to build the best fishing platform in design, performance, and construction for all of our customers. Through the years, motors have changed. Electronics have changed. But the passion to build the best bass boat possible has not changed. Everyone at Phoenix believes we got it right the first time.
When you go rogue, you make your own fun, no matter what it looks like. Rogue nicotine pouches, long-lasting, great tasting. Go rogue.
All right, we're back with a live mix here in the morning, trying to follow the action from a lot of these anglers. So far, a lot of small ones. Only a couple guys, Milliken and Vegeta, have caught some big ones, but definitely should materialize as this sun gets up and, you know, these fish, you know, it's natural to start making adjustments, you know, around these areas. So I would assume that these guys are going to start, you know, amping it up a little bit throughout the rest of the day.
I agree, and we're still super early into the day. You know, there's obviously little bite windows early on, but I do think this time of year, springtime, warming trend, sunshine, not a cloud in the sky here at Toledo Bend. We're going to see some big ones start to show up this afternoon. It seems like every day there's been guys that have been making big moves in the afternoon right before weigh-in. I don't think today's going to be any different. We'll see some guys. It's really interesting. Guys like Kioya, one bass, but it's a 6-pounder.
Right.
He's 4 bites away.
And we talked about this during the break. Everything, like if you just looked at the weather and the lake we're on and how big it is and how protected some of it is, a lot of the talk in practice was, are they going to be spawning? Mm-hmm. And we talked about during the break, it's like from the last day of practice until now, the fish have kind of reversed out to almost more wintertime stuff, And then it looks like in day 3 and day 4, that's kind of righted back a little bit, because the numbers of bites are different. So, I mean, it's interesting to see how long they hold on if they don't generate some, because anytime you're fishing a lake like this or in Florida, you have to judge based on how many of the females you're catching, And if these guys stay out there or stay in the same areas and are catching males, it's interesting to see how long they let that clock tick until they do make an adjustment.
Yeah, it seemed like they were kind of in that mid-zone right there during practice, and then the first 2 days of the tournament, those fish backed off, and then next thing you know, it's almost like they've now skipped that zone that they were in during practice. It was like they went backwards,
right?
Got a little momentum, and then just shot past where they were beforehand. They're like, oh, we'll just skip that zone. We've already been there for a few weeks.
We're with Pat now. He's our unofficial leader on Bass Track right now, but he still retains the lead with only having 5 for 9 pounds. So he's got a lot of room to grow. Milliken's moved up to second. Fujita's in third with 1 fish. I feel like as the day materializes, it's really going to come down to Pat and Kioya. That's what it feels like. And all he really needs is to generate just a couple of those bites to just get that separation back that he had at blast off this morning. So he's got a long day.
He started with a big lead. I mean, 6 pounds is a pretty big lead even on this place. And he's got the right conditions, I feel like, to be efficient, move around. As long as he doesn't end up with too many boats in this area, I think he's a force to be reckoned with. He's got the momentum. He's led the last 2 days of the tournament.
But he's still going to have to catch a big one.
He's going to have to catch multiple bigs.
Yep, he will.
I mean, at what point, y'all been in this position, both of you. At what point does it start wearing on you when the big one doesn't show up?
It just depends on how many he's seeing. It's a totally different ball game now.
Yep.
Because he can see how many fish are around in comparison to what he's seen the last 3 days or what he's seen comparable to practice. That is going to be his guiding force, right? What is his baseline of the fish that he's seeing, not only size-wise but numbers-wise. And being day 4, you typically will hold on to something a little longer than you might on day 1, because this area has gotten him here.
In all the years that I've done this, and both of you, I've covered you both on the water, and we stay with you, we often see the spin out long before the angler sees themselves spinning out.
Right.
I mean, over the course of time, over Street, and I've had these conversations. It's like, this guy's going, he's fixing to start spinning, and that's the worst thing that can happen, because but it happens. Guys happen. I guess Kioya's got a fish.
He
not showing it.
Just caught one.
It looked to be a 3 3¼ pounder.
So now he's 2 pounds from Milliken, or 6 pounds from Milliken.
He's really
he'll probably pass Milliken. He's trying to get the bait out.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kioya with With only 2 bass today, he'll probably move up to second.
You thought it was a 2 1/4?
I'm guessing it looked to me like it was probably a 3-pounder, but I'm not sure. It looked not giant, but it looked like a solid fish.
So he's 3 pounds behind Milliken. He's 9 pounds behind.
I'm guessing I'll put him somewhere around that 81-pound mark. See if cameraman Jake will get us a look at it. Have you noticed he uses 2 scales?
Yes.
He will use that mechanical scale first. 4-4. I was way off.
Way off.
So he's got 2 good bites.
2 good ones, yep.
So that does put him back in second, and
Yep.
it makes him 4 pounds or right at 5 pounds off of Slumper.
With 3 empty slots in the live well.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, that's scary,
Yep.
right? That's why I'm saying, if Pat knew that,
Yep.
would that really tighten him up?
Well, sometimes it's good that you don't know. Sometimes it's good there's not a leaderboard. And then sometimes it's bad that there's not a leaderboard, So I feel like Pat knows what it's going to take to win this tournament. Like I think he's got an idea in his mind that, I'm sure he thinks that if he catches 20, he has a shot, and that's or 18 or 20. So I'm sure that's going through his head already.
Yeah, he's been around long enough to know.
Yep.
It seems like all the elite guys have a little bit of a sense of what it's going to take.
Even for the 50 cut.
Yeah,
You come in and you're
50
like,
cut,
it's not
10
enough today, And then sometimes you're like, I'm going to make it, and you do.
But then there's this other part where it's the final day, and you just want to put the foot on the neck, and
Right.
crush. It doesn't matter, once you get to that point, you don't ever check up. You always feel like somebody's breathing down your neck.
When you got that attitude, that's usually when you win. Right. There's a big difference between
Trying to hit a mark or not, or
that
just trying
attitude or just hanging on. There's a big difference between fishing to win and fishing not to lose. There's a big.
Tell me some of the differences.
It all comes down to your decision making, really, and you can make all of the right casts, right? Like I can go down a row of docks and make the exact same skip, but if you're not fishing with the same intent or the same intensity, you don't get the same bites. I don't really know how to explain it, but I've seen it over and over in my career where you have to fish with intent. You have to practice with intent. You can't just go through the motions, right? So you may watch it on camera or look at photos and everything looks the same, but what's happening internally may not be the same. And that will oftentimes be the difference. It's one of the things that made KVD as good as he was for as long as he was, because he was going to try to step on your throat, right? It's like I don't just want to win, I want to beat you. Yeah, like I want to beat you.
And the other part of that is that confidence factor. I mean, I can remember back in the day, Rick Plum, and if you have confidence in the cast, you're going to, it makes a difference in how you're going to catch a fish. A guy said, I don't know, man, and another guy sitting up there going, I know.
Does that still apply?
I think that's exactly what you're talking about with the intent. Your intent is not to go through the motions. Your intent is that this cast is going to, and you do slow your retrieve or speed up your retrieve or do the right things that create the bite, as opposed to, because you're in the moment, at that point in time.
Like last year, you probably never second guessed a decision.
No, I didn't. But it was also one of those things where, I got off to a fast start like every tournament. I have never done that in my career,
Yeah.
you know. But after practice, I got off to a fast start, and it's very easy to generate momentum when you get off to a fast start. It's very hard to generate momentum when it's 12 o'clock and you've got two little ones. You know,
it's the hardest thing.
Yep. So it's hard to right that ship. So I mean, it's one of those things that just kind of. It was like you said. I practiced different last year. You know, not different than I did this year, but I practiced. You know, with the intention of, you know, I just thought out practice more last year than I ever had before, and it paid off a lot. But it's a lot of that scheduling also. Like there's certain lakes you go to where you just really understand.
Yeah.
You know, that's why you see, you know, lakes that are similar to this, like this lake and Seminole. They fish kind of similar, and Fujita's top 10 both of them. You know, and then like Milliken's, obviously he's done well here twice. There's certain lakes that just resonate with certain people. You know, and we went to quite a few of those last year that. You know, whenever you understand a lake, you don't second guess anything. You have a different amount of confidence, and you just know that a bite's coming. You know, and then it happens.
So let me ask you, AOYs. Y'all were here yesterday, which means you got cut. You had a crappy start. Are you out of it?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, well, I mean, you walked up in the middle of John Cruz
Right,
and
yeah.
then talking about, well, you know, Kyle may have, but I'm like, you know, I've seen bad starts before.
Yep.
I mean, you know, the year that Van Dam got disqualified at Santee, he finished second by 2 points.
Yep.
I mean, he had a 0.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so, I mean, it is there are opportunities, and sometimes they light your fire.
Yep.
You know, that poor start lights guys' fire, and I know you two are those kind of characters.
Yep. All that matters is you have 720 to 750 points. It doesn't matter when you get them.
That's the poker player.
You just have to get them at some point throughout the year. And the same thing to make the Classic. It takes 515 to 520 points, but with this big of a field, you just at some point you have to get them.
And I know both years that I won, I had a worse finish than I had this week. Throughout the year, so it is still definitely possible.
Yep.
But we're gonna have to catch them.
We're gonna have to catch them. Yeah.
I'd be all right if it came down to the St. Lawrence River and me and Kyle were battling it out.
That would be fun.
He smoked me at the St. Lawrence last year, but I mean, it'd be fun to battle it out.
No, I get that, and I that's one.
Fujita just caught another big one.
Oh Lord,
boy.
So if he caught him another big one, then he's taking the lead.
Yep.
So
see when this pops in.
Now this goes back to us talking about how he may be fishing just a little bit different.
Yep.
Right. He may be fishing same general area, but he might be targeting fish relating more to the bottom.
Yep.
Those big ones this morning, maybe the pressure, the boat pressure, everything has just pushed the bigger ones down a little bit.
Yep.
There's a lot of variables.
And he is fishing in the area with the most boat pressure, period.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, he's in a boat lane with like 40 spectator boats running by, all of us running by. He's definitely fishing in an area with the most boat pressure. So if it has moved those fish, and he's one of the best with forward-facing sonar, so he's going to be able to make those adjustments faster and seamlessly, you know, because of how good he is and how confident he is. So now he is in the lead with 3 for 15, so he just caught another 5-4. So he's in the lead with 3.
Yeah,
and I mean
3 of the right ones.
Three that he can definitely weigh in. I mean,
that's scary.
He has like 6 hours left to fish before he has to run back, so he's got plenty of time. But I mean, that could be said for all the guys. Even Pat still has plenty of time. So
100%.
I think this tournament is going to be won from what we've seen yesterday between 12 and 1 o'clock.
Yeah,
that's what I believe. Because yesterday we saw a lot of big ones caught thin, and I
small one is, but
this tournament's going to be won between that time.
Be the skinniest fish in the
I'll
lake.
take a look at something.
Just get rid of him.
So I was curious.
He's fishing 15, 16
Jordan throwing a drop shot. First one I've seen all week.
Yep.
Think?
So he's probably fishing for those fish on the bottom too.
Yep.
I think he said around grass.
Right on the edge.
He's breaking up a little bit, but he said right on the edge.
Yep.
So must be targeting those ones that are cruising that grass line.
That's the thing about that area is that grass drops off. In a lot of those places, it drops straight off into some super deep water. You know, it's almost like a straight wall of grass that's 10 feet tall. So those fish use that as an ambush point.
Instead of throwing a minnow over there.
You know, I feel like a drop shot's a little old school now. Don't it seem that way?
It does.
A little old school.
At one point, it was new, and then it became the standard, and
now it's old.
Now it's
old news.
Yeah. So yesterday we were talking about those bite windows and everything. So I went back and I looked at my deep dive app, and there was like a solar feeding window, right? Like on here, it shows these different feeding windows when you scroll through. So look, it said there was a minor feeding window at 7:05 to 8:05 a.m. today, which I think a lot of guys caught them 7:45 to 7:55 this morning. And then it shows that there's another feeding window between 12:29 and 2:29.
And as soon as that opened yesterday, we saw it.
Yep. So it seemed like a lot of the fish catches hit on the tail end outside of Kyoya. But most of the guys this morning that started catching them were on the tail end of that first minor feeding window. I'm curious if we hit that 12:30-ish time frame, what happens?
Right.
If it starts to hit. Because yesterday it was like the major feeding window that we saw when we were on camera happened within that major feeding window.
I believe those feeding windows are more powerful pre-spawn than any other time of the year.
Yeah.
But because those females are almost dormant for a majority of the day, is how it seems.
And you think, because this is based on like a lunar table.
Yep.
So you believe, the whole full moon, pulling fish to the spawn, you think that has a bigger impact on them then?
So
during pre-spawn because of the moon and the pull of it?
During pre-spawn, I think it's more powerful than any other time of the year. But I think that basically whenever the sun is directly overhead, it just gets those fish and positions them and makes them start eating. Like it just seems like to me those females bite right in the middle of the day. Like the biggest fish I ever catch pre-spawn are usually right in the middle of the day.
Yep.
So basically what y'all are saying is 12:30 to 2 is going to be this tournament's going to be decided 12:30 to 2.
That's what my deep dive app says. I don't know if it's actually true or not, but that's what it says.
But if Koya catches 2 more, it might be decided sooner than that.
Yeah, if he catches 2 more 6s.
Yeah.
What's that put him at?
Well, I think yesterday he weighed in 3 good ones and then 2 2-pounders yesterday.
Yeah.
So today with the start he's off to, I don't see him weighing in 2 2-pounders.
Probably not. And he caught those last 2 within 7 minutes of each other.
Yep.
We don't know what he's seeing on the screen.
I'd like to know.
He may be looking at 3 or 4 more.
Right.
That he just hasn't caught yet. Jordan's definitely made a push in.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. But he's also, it's funny to say this, being that it's Jordan, but he's the most veteran out of everybody in that group on the screen.
Right.
He is the veteran guy out of that group of anglers right there.
And he also fishes with that confidence that and it doesn't matter where he is.
Yep.
He just is a confident angler, and it makes him good.
Yep.
I'm trying to think of how to say it. He's almost like he'll make you mad because when you talk to him or like you look at his boat or how do you find anything in there or how do you catch a bass? And then he goes and beats your brains in.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't overthink it.
Right.
Yeah.
He has such a simple approach. And I always joke because him and his brother are polar opposites. As far as like preparation and everything. But Jordan will just like wander out there and drift around a point and Next thing you know, he's got 20 pounds.
Yep.
We've seen him do that in 2 classics, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah. One is like, oh, I can't go anywhere else because my motor doesn't work, so
sit here and whack on him.
I'm just going to sit here and catch 27 pounds or whatever it was. But never get flustered.
No.
So it's going to be an interesting rest of the day. I'm really curious to see if that 230 to 229 window plays out. Really, for my own understanding of these bite windows and what's happening.
Just to know how much we need to pay attention to it next week. Yeah, that's what we're really curious about.
Yeah, 100%.
And you will.
Yep.
Right? 100%. You're going to be checking that.
100%. Like, just any more clues I can get, the better. Any clues these guys can get, they're going to be better off today. It is far from over. Kyoya's got the lead. He's got the best momentum right now with 3 big ones. Milliken's got 2 of the right bites. Schlapper's still really looking for the right bite, but one of those smaller fish could be the key that could be the fish that wins it for him, right?
Right.
He gets 4 big bites. That one could be the winning fish.
Yeah. And at this rate, one big fish, the right really big fish.
Yeah. And he's only 12 pounds and 12 ounces away from the Century Club.
Right.
So it's possible.
That is possible, true. And he's 12 pounds away with only 9 pounds.
And that's Bass Track.
True.
He's probably 9 pounds away.
True.
Right.
Good point.
All right. Well, guys, I appreciate you guys coming in and giving us a very interesting outlook. We're going to continue to go, and we'll cut these guys loose. We're going to come back with the Rookie Hour with Kyle Patrick and Wesley Gore and see how the rookies are going to break this thing down.
Perfect.
As opposed to these seasoned vets.
Might have to stick around and learn a thing or two.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Stay with us.
We will start the class like that. Well.
Bass fishing isn't just a sport, it's a way of life, and today I want to talk to you about something more important than winning trophies. Hi, I'm Jeff Gustafson, 2023 Bassmaster Classic champion. Join me in supporting Bassmaster's conservation efforts. Scan this QR code to learn how you can make a positive impact. Catch and release isn't just a choice, it's a responsibility. For the love of the sport, for the weekend angler, and for a future Bassmaster Classic champion.
Our SV spool design is made with one thing in mind: casting control. Whether it is casting lightweight baits, skipping, pitching, or casting into the wind, the Tatula SV reels virtually eliminate backlashes when set properly. Now with our groundbreaking technology and innovations, backlashes can be a thing of the past.
Leaders in innovation and anglers at heart. Lew's is founded on a rich heritage of building the best. 70 years of cutting-edge innovation with one goal in mind: to answer the call of passionate anglers who demand reliability, durability, and tournament-level performance. Delivering the best for you to perform at your best, on and off the water.
So we're not all professional anglers. We don't all compete on the biggest stage. But inside us all burns the same fire to be a champion. It's why you get out early, brave the toughest conditions, point the bow toward adventure and put the hammer down. For whatever trophy or fish or memory you're chasing, count on a Mercury Pro XS outboard, engineered to deliver the speed and reliability you need to power the champion inside you.
Get loud for David Mullins.
The newest addition to the Basscat STS family is here. Introducing the Caracal STS, showcasing aggressive styling, paired with enhanced performance and a continued dedication to raising the bar. Measuring in at 20 feet 2 inches with an ultra-wide 96-inch beam and rated for a 250 to 300 horsepower engine, the Caracal STS boasts agility and speed and is finished with premium features to satisfy any angler. Basscat boats. Feel the rush.
Born in Japan, using technology, innovation, and precision, Sunline produces the widest selection of fishing lines at the most technologically advanced line factory in the world. Manufactured at the strictest tolerances to produce victories at the highest levels of tournament bass fishing. From household names like Christie, Swindle, and Cruz, to young guns like Cook, Logan, New, and Welcher, they all trust Sunline to take them to the top of the leaderboard. Choose the line that will give you the strength to guarantee your confidence. Sunline.
A rush of tournament adrenaline. Nitro, the choice of champion, where performance meets play. Nitro, a big water beast, a pure fishing machine. Nitro, release the champion within.
Yes.
Fishing isn't just a hobby, it's an obsession. Whether it's blazing hot or bitterly cold, bright sunshine, raining, or even snowing, someplace, somewhere, there's a fish that's ready to bite. And as the angler, you need baits that will catch the fish anywhere, anytime, no matter the conditions. From throwing top waters to cranking the depths, know the baits to throw. Choose Spro.
Think you know fishing? Time to prove it. Bassmaster has 2 fantasy games giving you even more opportunities to win. Play Rapala Bassmaster Fantasy Fishing and the Falcon Rods Bassmaster Drain the Lake Challenge for a chance to win some great prizes, including a $15,000 shopping spree at Bass Pro Shops, a trip to the 2025 Classic, or a fishing trip with Luke Palmer. Every tournament is a chance to win, and there's more than $90,000 in prizes to be won in 2024. You can't win if you don't play, plus it's free. For details, sign up and play all season. Visit BassmasterFantasy.com.
When you go rogue, a top 20 playlist doesn't set the mood. You do. Rogue nicotine pouches. Great taste. No compromises. Go rogue.
Welcome back to the Bassmaster Elite Series event on Toledo Bend. We're sitting here, we're calling this the Rookie Hour. We have Wesley Gore and Kyle Patrick. You guys had pretty good events. I mean, you fished on day 3, and Wesley, you almost made the top 10. You were really close. So one of the things that I heard you say when we first started was that you fished next to Koya for those 3 days. So you're going to have to give us some insight on some of that. But before you do that, I just really kind of want to see, and it may be the same, how do y'all see this playing out? Y'all seen more of it than anybody we've had on this morning.
Truly, it's probably playing into Koya's end for him because of the wind. I mean, where he's sitting, the fish are just going to funnel into the hurricane bayou right there. He's sitting in the mouth of it, and he can just catch them as they come. And plus, you got the wind that's, pushing them in there. As what I seen from the first day, I fished all out in front of housing, in front of Hurricane Bay, and that southwest wind, I mean, it really stacks them in there. I mean, there was a lot of fish that got pushed in there that first day.
On a big southwest wind. And then that was day one, and then day two we had almost a north wind. And then yesterday hardly any wind. But today is more like what day one when he crushed them.
What's interesting, too, is, Wesley and I, we were fishing out in the mouth of housing and kind of, more towards the creek channel, right? And Kayoya is over in that one section, the Hurricane Bayou or whatever, and we're literally watching. Wesley was catching the fish, and I was catching the fish that are going to Kayoya. You can literally see them, whether they're suspended in 15 foot or hugged closer to the bottom in 40, 50 foot. They're going to him. So we're trying to intercept those fish, that are headed to Kayoya. But a lot of the times we can't see them, or we can't catch them, and then they're moving right into where he's fishing, and he's a wizard with it. He's a Demiki king, but I don't know if it outdoes how good Kayoya is with that live scope with the Demiki.
Wow.
So one more thing, I mean, he's at like a huge funnel point, so he's sitting inside of the creek channel right there. There's two massive humps that are probably like 25 foot the channel runs in. That he's sitting right on the inside of them, actually where it gets landlocked, where the bayou actually starts. So he's at the best funnel point possible, I mean, for those fish to come in. We were out in front of there, so we had to cover tons of water to actually, see what few fish that we were seeing versus he could sit in one general area and really see a bunch of fish.
Isaac Walsh was kind of big.
Yeah. I swear it was humongous.
That is a pretty one.
But they're sitting right there. Let's see if we can catch this one. Another one.
It'll be interesting to see as the day goes on if the people start moving in closer to the bank and you start seeing them get closer to the grass. I know that there was a few people or a few guys that actually in the top 10 that was catching them around the hydrilla later in the day. That was something I actually never keyed in on. I stayed out in the flooded timber out there in the main body a lot more, but I know several guys late in the day would have a bite that would be from outside the hydrilla line. They were talking about if you could catch them before they got to the hydrilla, you could actually get them to bite, but once they got to it, it was super difficult. It was like they would go straight into like a fickle mode and just sit there like they were staging and waiting to go to the bank.
That one area in 6 Mile you and I fished, I caught a 4.5 pounder on the second day. In the hydrilla, like all the way in. And I was shocked because I hadn't gotten a bite all the practice in the hydrilla at all. So, I think it's super challenging to get those fish to eat. But when you can see them right before, it becomes a whole lot easier because, you can – what Wesley was talking about is so true with the Demiki. It's really – with these fish, it's not necessarily about – they're not necessarily hungry, right? You can – the Demiki works so well because you can really, make that bait do what it needs to in order to not bother that fish necessarily, but, coax him into biting. Exactly. Like,
keep your mouth down.
Whether it
keep
be,
your mouth down.
keeping
Don't be doing that crap.
Look, it's got one. Keeping it right. Oh. Is that on jerkbait? It looks like it.
There we go.
That's a good one.
4 pounder. I see he's catching them. It seems like he's got several of the same size quality fish.
It's more like it.
It's definitely going to jump him up the leaderboard,
We're gonna
but he's going to need a couple of those.
That's a good one.
Better than average spots to catch Vegeta, especially since he's already got 4 for 19.
That's our limit fish. I'll take that.
Yeah, no. So with the Demiki, it's about controlling. It's really easily controllable.
Actually, to catch
so
the bigger
you
ones.
can
I'm gonna show
read
you
that
guys in a
fish,
second.
right?
Let's see what
Whether
this
that
one
fish
weighs.
is down in 30 foot or
Heck
up
yeah,
in
5 pounds.
suspended up in 10 foot,
she was that big.
you can control that bait
Got 18
to
now,
where
guys.
you're basically just
Take
putting
that.
it right on
5 more
top of their
pounds, beautiful Toledo
nose
Bend
until
bass.
they just bite it. And I'm not as good with the Demiki as him. He can elaborate on that, but I mean it's a pretty interesting technique and one that will prevail in a lot of events this year.
All right, we got a limit now.
I mean, obviously, I'm
18
assuming
pounds is
Koya is
amazing. I'm
throwing
super
something
glad we got
similar
it,
to a
but
Demiki of some
we
style.
need to get some bigger
and,
ones. We need some of those 7-8
like you
pounders
said.
if we're going to compete. And I got a secret weapon I've been holding back that me and my partner, my fishing partner Zark, used to use in tournaments back in Nebraska and Iowa. People thought it was kind of performance enhancing and that we should be banned from the series because we were winning so much for doing this. But I scoured the Bassmaster rules, and there's nothing that says this should be outlawed or that it's not legal to use this. So I'm gonna dig in the box here for the secret weapon right here.
Oh, no.
People swear it's performance enhancing. They're probably right. Pickled quail eggs for the bigs. Let's get a pickled quail egg going.
Why do I feel like
Oh yeah,
gotta
get a little bit on the boat.
Quail. Like I feel like I'm not surprised right
One
now.
quail egg.
He looks like a pickled quail eggs kind of guy.
And this for you, Z.
I'll tell you something unique.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know about that now.
The thing I like about these two,
He got a
you can
little
eat 8 or
older,
10 of them.
David Smell, and he met
Has no
on stage this evening.
effect on you at all.
But it's pretty unique how he braved the conditions the first few days. I mean, it was pretty rough
You
on
like
that
that?
Louisiana side, and he
That was a little
actually
bit ridiculous,
is
but
on
I'll
that
take
side.
it.
He's the only competitor, I believe,
I'm
that's
feeling
over
it. That
there
was
that
awesome.
far down. And that creek he's
Wasn't
in
able to come
is
back here,
very
just put
unique.
boats in it all day.
It's like the Housing and 6 Mile is the only one that's on the Louisiana side that sets up the same. It actually has defined ditches with expansive flats that you can, catch those fish in different stages at. I think that was a really good, smart play by him. It'd be interesting to see what he can do. I mean, it's just hard to compete with that Housing and 6 Mile area. There's so many big ones in there.
She almost looks like post.
Was there anyone? Do we know? Was there anyone near him yesterday, or does he have that mostly to himself? I know he does probably today, but
Think he'll be able to
it'd
put
be
that on
interesting to see the
FS1?
pressure it got throughout the week.
There's been guys all over, obviously,
Right.
But I
The
can't
eggs part, I
speak
don't
with
care about
any
the fish. The eggs
authority
part.
on that at all. I think he did have it to himself yesterday.
Right. I know that that's a good zone.
I think
right
he's
there.
the only one with quail eggs in the boat too.
That's for sure. And drinking the juice, man. Wow, that's bold, man.
Obviously, you've never seen Dave Mercer eat a cicada. So,
No.
And then I think Davey had some pig's feet or something.
Oh boy. I tried those one time when I was younger, and I think they scarred me for life. So I'm good on any of that stuff. I'll just stick with the standard food. The exotic stuff's not for me.
Well, I mean, we had big expectations for Milliken, and he's kind of living up to them. I mean, of course, he got to start at home. That's always a help.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this is a little bit different than last time we were here. He seems to be super good when it comes to that Gizzard Shad spawn. And I think in the Open last year, 90% of the field actually missed that spawn. Everybody was looking for a threadfin spawn, and what few people did find it didn't find as many places like he did and know how to catch them. I mean, he is super on point with that. They're just so scattered out right now, which is a unique situation to be what time of year it is. But I think we as fishermen have it a little bit backwards. We think they flood the bank as soon as it gets to 60 degrees in February and the moon gets right. But I think they just start thinking about it, versus actually flooding the bank. I think that more happens in later March, April. That's when you see those big, massive waves of fish that go to the bank.
Yeah, back to Milliken. I mean, he's impressive, right? I mean, last year when I heard he was fishing the Opens, it wasn't even a thought on my mind that he'd be able to compete. And I told him that when we were here, and he was way up in AOY. I walked up to him. I said, "Man, it's impressive what you've done, because there's a lot of chips. It's a big, thing to do this. It's one thing to be a YouTube sensation and be educational with fishing, which he is excellent at, but it's another thing to compete in the opens, let alone on the Elite Series. And I walked up to him. I was like, hey, I mean, you've really, you're an excellent tournament bass fisherman, but also, I guess ambassador for the sport too. It's pretty cool.
I mean, Milliken, he kind of put his neck out there he took a chance because he has a lot of height behind him, and to actually take a chance and try to qualify, that's a real big deal. And he lived up to it. He done a good job, and I can't say enough about him. He's a good fisherman. He knows a lot about the forward-facing sonar, just in how fish move. You can tell he's putting in his time.
Yeah, he said he was on the water like every day for the last, 2 months leading up to this tournament, and it clearly shows.
Yeah, he improved his spinning rod game. I've actually seen him hold one a little bit. His videos have changed.
Oh.
If it's a bass.
I believe that's Pat.
It's a catfish. Oh, dang, old catfish hunter got me.
Slop.
Oh, dang it.
Actually caught me a few of them too, like Pat has one there. They're out there with them too. They're a little bit difficult to see just because at this time during the day the bass get so much deeper in the water column. There seems to be a morning window where they're up for a little while and then they get back up late again. It seems like after lunch. I actually never capitalized on the early time bite. I don't think I put a fish in the box till 10 o'clock in this event. But, these guys were catching some fish that were left over. They were farther in than I was, that were in on these pinch points leading into these spawning areas, and they were getting to actually capitalize on it. And all the fish that I found out in the middle had kind of vacated. It was just difficult to find any until later when the sun would get out, the water would start warming up, and they'd come to them. But as they're coming to me, they're coming to these guys. So I think you'll see a big shakeup later this evening. You'll see several guys catch those really big females that haven't, had a bait through at them yet. They're coming out of the main body.
Agreed.
The creek channel father. I mean, I call it a really into the lake, And I actually don't know exactly where Pat's at. I know he's in Housen. I think he's farther down the flat from everybody on one of the main drains. But, I mean, it's a huge funnel point, just like kind of what Koya's fishing.
I just love his last name. It's so good. Schlopper. And he's gone through a ton of adversity. I mean, he is the definition of, grinding until you, just make places. Is really, really impressive because, Leslie and I both know how hard it is to qualify and to do it twice, and it's something else. And he seems to be really good with forward facing.
I believe he done good at Seminole last year with forward facing sonar. Very similar concept to kind of what he's doing here. I think he was catching them in a drain pre-spawn. I think he was catching them jerking that week.
That's for sure.
But, it's interesting how the dynamics of everything has changed. It seems like last year everything that people done was throwing a jerk bait, etc. But now it's all spinning rod stuff,
Yeah, it'll slip
the power
away,
of that
though.
Dominican rig is amazing.
It's nice just to get
one
good one to get me.
That's funny
is going, you know. Keep throwing at him.
With live scope, he's in second now.
I was just seeing if he had any big ones. He's got a 3-pounder. He's still got those buckfish right now.
Yeah. It's funny, like the forward-facing sonar, everyone talks about, it makes it a lot easier. I think it makes it a lot harder, honestly. I mean, you're opening up the lake to a way bigger, playing field, right? Like, there's bank fish, and then there's, structure fish, and then there's fish that are, just roaming and cruising, and they are really, really challenging to catch. I mean, how many times, Wesley, were you out there and you couldn't get fish to bite that you knew for a fact were bass? I mean, it's not easy.
Oh, a ton. I mean, It's amazing how it seems like they go through like little bite windows and they're in zones. And I used to think it was depth related, like where they were out in the water column, but I truly don't think it is. I caught some this week, the first day, super deep, and every one of them I threw out for an hour bit. You know, you go through a window where they really bite, and you just got to keep throwing at them. That's the amazing thing. You just can't ever tell. Obviously, in the morning time, if you can get around some, you would think that's the best time, but you know, I just never put that together. In practice, I caught everything that I was catching early. You know, I thought I was really going to fill the level up early in this tournament, but that did not happen.
Yeah, Robert Gee, he's impressive, man. Like, he is another guy that is extremely good. I mean, all these guys are really good with forward-facing sonar, but he also found something very different. I don't think many of the guys, at least from what I know, have been fishing with that Demiki with the bait all around. Like, our fish have been just cruising, and a lot of people's fish have been cruising, to get to the spawning pockets or wherever. These fish are keyed in on bait, and I think, he's got a good one. Obviously, he just caught a 4, but that bite is going to be tricky for him throughout the day, I think, just because he's really milked it for all it's worth. You might see him go to the bank at like noon, just because I think those fish are really starting to push up.
Yeah, I would think. It seems like the fish he's catching is more in a wintertime pattern. They're keying in on bait. I mean, there was some bait in housing. You would see some, but the fish were not related to it at all. You were just picking them off before they were going into the spawning bays. He is 100%, catching fish that are related to bait.
Well, it seems to me that even with him, he's kind of milked this area, that none of these guys are running out of fish.
Right.
But there's an opportunity for more to show up. But it's not like the old, I may have caught everything. Because we thought Koya had caught everything.
Right. Yeah, well, that's what's unique about his spot is they're moving to him. Whereas the reason I said that about Guy is I just don't know if there are fish moving to where – I think he's fishing the same thing right now, but I just don't know if there's fish moving out to that bait. I think they're – with Kioya, even Schlapper, I think he's in a zone where, there's even hourly, there's more fish moving from that deep 80, 70, 80 foot deep. And it's moving to those guys, whereas with Guy, I don't know if they're going to really be moving in like they would for these guys.
So basically what you're saying is, and I'm just thinking just basic ways, G or Gee, as you're referring to him, and I don't know, it sounds like G, but he's fishing bait. Everybody else is fishing travel corridor. Is that what you're saying?
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
Correct. And that's why I think he'll probably make a move at some point when to
get to the
bank.
end of the line.
Yep, to get to the end of the line, exactly. That's exactly right.
We're back on Koya. He's so good, dude. I mean, just being around him, he's so good. He don't get in, I mean, obviously he moves around really quick, but he takes his time, and he'll really, really take his time if he sees a fish and makes several casts at it. I think that's what separates him. He works one fish for a long, long time.
It impresses me how hard he jacks him on a spinning rod, man. He sets the hook so hard. I mean, he leans back into him and straight cracks him, man. It's pretty impressive.
He's throwing like super small line. And
I know.
He does not give him any slack either. He reels them in.
Sometimes the fish hardly even has time to fight. Have you noticed that? It gets to the boat, and he grabs it right there. Boom. It's over.
I actually watched yesterday after I got bumped out. I went back and watched some of the highlights, and he caught one, and he like threw it up in the air whenever he was getting in the boat. He got it so quick in the boat.
Yeah, they're green.
But he is catching a different class of fish. I think he's selective. I don't think he throws at everything he sees. You can kind of tell size when you're looking at with a forward-facing sonar. You can't tell the girth of a fish or nothing like that, but you can tell the length of one. And I think he's really being particular about which ones he casts at and takes his time to catch.
Yeah. So, you know, just for the viewers that aren't familiar with live scope, what he's doing is he's basically cruising, and he holds that rod and waits until he sees one, whether it's way down in the water column or high up, and he makes a precise cast. And I don't know necessarily if he's doing this, but what I'll do is, you know, you're casting that bait behind the fish. You can cast it a little bit past him. It's you know, it's not the end of the world if you cast it in front of them, but a lot of the times you want to be working that bait so it crosses over the top of their head. And it seems to be that he's doing that same technique. And it's really effective at sort of creating a reaction strike. Even though it's not necessarily a reaction bait, when you drag it over their head and they can't see it, and boom, they can see it, a lot of the times they come up and grab it. And so he's hunting more than anything. That's really what he's doing with his live, you know, with his forward-facing sonar. He's moving and hunting for a fish, and he sees one. A lot of the times those fish are moving really quickly, so he has to make a pinpoint cast, be super accurate, and really have the weight of his bait dialed in, because that matters a lot when it falls too slowly. You can't get it down to him. There's a lot of factors to consider when you're you know, fishing the way he is. And you can agree with that. That's how you caught him.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was one thing this week I was telling Kyle when we were in practice. You know, you want to go as light as possible because they were super weight shy. You know, the bait, you had to control the bait over their head, versus at other times of the year they want it where you burn it off of them. I mean, this week they wanted it just sitting on their nose for as long as possible.
Yeah, and I mean, Wesley was the one that taught me that. I mean, I don't think I would have picked up a 1/8. I wouldn't have thought about it. And he was like, man, I'm telling you, they're so weight shy. I threw that lightweight and caught a 5-pounder. So give me some. So yeah, no, it's incredibly detail oriented, and I think a lot of the best forward-facing sonar guys are really detail oriented and can hyper focus on, you know, what the fish is doing. Whether you're looking at it, it's just like bed fishing. Whether you're looking at the fish with your eyes or you're looking at it on your screen, you have to hyper focus on it and understand, okay, that fish is moving this way across the screen left, which means if I'm panning my trolling motor, I need to pan my trolling motor a little bit more and then cast actually not where the screen's pointed, but a little bit to the left. So when that fish is swimming this way, my bait is going to fall and meet that fish perfectly so that I can then work it and he'll bite it.
Like a quarterback throwing to the receiver.
You got it. That's a great analogy. So it's 100% that way. It's the exact same. And this is a big thing I think several people mess up on is they let the bait fall. All of the fish that you catch, they feed upwards. I mean, I'm 100% a believer in that just from using it. I've seen it. You know, all the fish we catch on jig and worm and et cetera, those fish actually aren't feeding. You're just keeping something in front of them long enough on the bottom that they bite it. It's pretty interesting. You have to stop the bait above their head, because if you let it fall too far, the fish will actually cut off and they'll just go to the bottom and it scares them. So you want the bait to suspend above them and let them make the initial come, like, you know, go towards it before you start taking it away. So I always stop mine, 5 or 8 feet above it.
All right. Well, we're going to stop ours for a few seconds and go to a break, let the sponsors have their say, but we're going to come back here, and I hope you stay with us on Live Mix with Wesley Gore and Kyle Patrick. We'll be right back.
Introducing the most powerful Tacoma ever. With the shut the front door handle. Also known as the Seriously Rob handle. Or the Whoa 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 handle. And even the No Me Gusta handle. Standard on the all-new Toyota Tacoma.
Never
believe in bass fishing, but we believe in bass catching even more. We make products for hardcore anglers. We design, build, test, and redesign until it's right. We cut our teeth on 15-pound fluoro and 30-pound braid. We only admit to bleeding when we get bass, though. We're here for serious anglers. We are serious anglers because those of us that earn this badge are untouchable. We are Bass Mafia.
Buy more, save more with Lowrance. Are you ready to take your fishing to the next level? Get a huge rebate of up to $4,000 when you purchase selected gear from Lowrance and a whole range of leading marine brands. Scan the on-screen code or visit Lowrance.com to level up your boat today.
It's the moment when everything is on the line and precision, power, and control make all the difference. A moment over 20 years in the making, anchored on loyalty, trust, and support that goes beyond all expectations. A relentless pursuit of perfection. All born from a revolutionary idea to help you rule the water. Power Pole.
A lot of our customers are guys that are sitting in a takeoff every Saturday morning and using their AVX as a platform to go win some serious money.
This is not your grandpa's old aluminum boat.
Of course, with the Vexus, I was expecting a good ride. I was not expecting to be as smooth as it was and as quick out of the hole.
It comes out of the hole like butter. It shoots just like a bullet. It takes waves amazing. You can't tell the difference between a fiberglass and an aluminum.
It's a boat that's going to surprise the heck out of you.
Growing up, I used to watch them every Sunday on ESPN.
We've had our leaders trying to hang on for dear life. We've had some other anglers make a furious charge in some cases.
And to be able to fish the Elite Series, truly means everything to me because I've truly set my whole life up to do this.
In the top 10 fishing championship Sunday, it all comes down to this.
And I feel like now I'm there fishing against the best in the world.
The Yamaha VMAX V6 SHO continues to deliver the level of performance that pro bass and multi-species anglers demand. Underneath a bold and aggressive new look, an upgraded charging system with 40% more charging power meets the amped-up demand for today's advanced electronics. The VMAX SHO, raw power, reliability, and exhilarating performance for every angler who loves the sport enough to invest in the best. Yamaha, reliability starts here.
Welcome to Minnow King. How can I help you?
Everything looks good. I'm friggin' starving, man. Been spawning all morning.
Ugh, TMI, bro. What do you want?
I'll take a Crush City freeloader and gizzard shad.
Anything to drink.
Water.
Pull ahead, please. Welcome to Minnow King.
We're gonna have what he's had. Yeah, throw me in a net BLT, too.
Pull ahead, please.
Calm down. Quit feeding so much.
Hey, man, I'm trying to, man.
If you overfeed him, he's gonna hide under a log.
When you go rogue, a top 20 playlist doesn't set the mood. You do. Rogue nicotine pouches. Great taste. No compromises. Go rogue.
Oh boy. Welcome back to the Gamakatsu Bassmaster Elite Series on Toledo Bend. We're here live mix today, and sitting with Kyle Patrick and Wesley Gore, a couple of our rookies who did extremely well. Why don't you bring us up to date, Kyle?
Yeah, I mean, Milliken, just looking at this now, I mean, he's got a 4.7, 4, a 5, 3.2, and a 2.11. So he puts a 5-pounder in, exchanges that 2.11, and then he gets another 5-pounder, takes that 3.2 out of there. I mean, he's going to be dangerous, really dangerous, because, and Kiyoya here, he has, he's got a good bag too, man. He's got a heck of a bag. I mean, he's got a 3.12 in there, and he has 19 for 4.
Oh, yeah. That's a heck of a start. I mean, he's going to be dangerous if he can just get another 5th keeper. I mean,
yeah.
He's been on a different quality of fish than the rest of us all week, that's for sure. I would hate to. He was probably more than upset with 16 pounds. I'd have been thrilled with it.
Me too.
But, I mean, I think they just left that zone that he was in yesterday. That's what I noticed. A lot of the guys that were in past me in the Hurricane Bay or Bayou, they started moving a lot more. They were really locked down the first 2 days of the event, and I mean, obviously, when you see people running around, they're not catching them.
Right.
Right. I think they kind of left that zone from having that north wind 2 days in a row, and it's in favor of him today with the wind. I mean, that's a south-facing bay, and you got the south wind blowing straight into it. I mean, he is going to catch them all day.
It's pushing those fish that were out in the middle of housing in faster.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It speeds up the process.
Yeah. And I think, from my understanding this week, other than in practice, the bigger fish were lower in the water column. In practice, you caught some big ones, 6 pounds. The surface of the water. But as the day went on, or as the week went on, you had those bigger fish drop lower, and then as they got up to where Kiyoya was fishing, I mean, he's fishing, from my understanding, he is fishing super, super close to the bottom with that bait that he's throwing.
Well, I mean, and we've seen that with Jordan Lee this morning throwing a drop shot. I mean, he's more than likely on the bottom.
Yep.
So how key is that bottom? I mean, Wesley, you've been there, right there around him.
I do it a little different. I mean, when I'm scoping, a lot of times I'm not even looking at the bottom. I have my forward-facing sonar set where it's cut off. I'll look at it here and there to make sure there's nothing going on. But, I mean, it's still so deep that it's very distorted. It's difficult to see them, especially with all the trees. I mean, there's tons of timber out there. There's one every 5 feet, and to be able to catch them off the bottom. I mean, I actually did catch a few really, really low, but it takes a lot of time. But I look for the high flyers,
Not
from
good.
10
foot down to 20 foot.
And for all the viewers that don't understand live scope, what Wesley says what he means when he says he cuts the bottom off is the picture of the bottom on your live scope is looking forward. So instead of setting his depth to
they really turned on
50 feet of water, instead of setting his depth to
They've really
55 to where
since
you
the
can
wind
see
picked up.
the bottom contour, he's setting it to 35, so he can
Hey,
only
the big
see
ones just follow
water. There's no bottom, right, that he's looking at, and that makes it easier to see those fish that are cruising high in the water column. Any fish low, he can't even see.
No, and
was that a mistake?
I'm not going to say it was. I'm not going to say it wasn't. Obviously I could have improved drastically on the second day, but I mean, I did cut it down and look, but it's so difficult to see those fish that are that deep. I mean, I'm big on proportions when you're using forward-facing sonar, and when you cut it down deeper, you have to extend your range so that it keeps the image crisp. Because if you have it too deep to how long you have it, it's like a ratio. Then it clutters everything. It stretches the view. I mean, you want it to be crisp. So if you're running it on 50 feet, you need to run it 110 or 120 feet to maintain the crispness of the image that you have. So it becomes very difficult to do that. So I try to keep mine, from 80 to 90 and 30 or 35 feet. It's a rare occasion that you catch them deeper than that. So it's very impressive.
Yeah, he's seeing fish that are very challenging to see. It's not, from an outside perspective, people look at it and go, oh, he's just staring at the screen. Man, it's so hard. It is so challenging to see the fish that he's catching and to, present it perfectly.
Looks like Milliken's got the Demiki now.
Stop playing with
He's been holding a jerkbait all morning, but lost him. But, Milliken has definitely sharpened his tools as far as with the spinning rod game. I know he's impressed me all around, He's known as the big bait guy, but don't be afraid. He can throw a small bait, too, and catch them.
Yeah. And what really helps that is forward-facing sonar. It's not only just a great tool for catching fish, but it's a great tool for seeing how fish react to a bait. You can learn to throw big baits, or if any of the people out there are uncomfortable with a bait, you can watch how that bait needs to be thrown to catch the fish. And that's what gives you more confidence in a specific bait. So I think he's used that really well, is like using his forward-facing sonar to learn how to fish baits and see how those fish are reacting.
Oh, absolutely. This is something I just picked up on. So if you look at Bass Track, and majority of the guys are catching fish, but Coop Gallant, he's having a slow morning. He was out in the middle housing around me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that I was talking about. He caught a real big bag yesterday. We had that north wind, so it pushed those fish back out there to us. It kept those fish out in the middle, where that process didn't speed up, and he's actually having a slow morning. But I expect that to pick up for him later in the day. Fish in the lake that it's got warmer and warmer every morning. A warming trend this time of year is not the daily high; it's the nightly low. So we've actually had fairly warm nights. And that keeps those fish thinking about going to the bank, So I'm sure that he's going to see some fish later this evening that are coming in off the main body that he'll have a chance of catching. That could be the right size.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like day one, those fish out there bit late.
Oh, absolutely.
Really late. And I think that's why you saw that later full. Over 18, not everyone, but a lot of big bags were caught late on day one. I think you might see that here, and that's why Kiyoya is so dangerous right now. It's what time is it? 9:30, 9:45, and he's got 19 pounds for 4. Dude, he's crazy. He's so good.
He's also the closest to the main lake, I think, which is Hurricane Bayou is a special within itself. You couldn't ask for nothing better in terms of a setup. South Basin Bay, huge spawning bay, tons of grass in it, a place these fish can go and actually spawn.
Is that where Jordan Lee is right now? In the back?
I cannot tell exactly where he's at all.
I'm curious to see if he catches a few bigs today fishing shallow.
Hey, he's going to keep it honest. He's got that Alabama in him.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll pull out old Big Nasty and go down the bank a little bit. Oh yeah. Oh, yeah.
He's looking at one, it looks like.
He's frozen.
Oh, he's frozen.
Yeah, it's froze.
It did look like
it looks
he was
like
looking
he's
at one.
looking at one. He's scared to move.
The thing is, we've had 3 days of sun. There is going to be fish starting going to the bank. This is, I could be completely wrong, but my theory is, the sunshine is the biggest thing that matters in the springtime, more than anything, just because you got to have sun, like for the trees. The trees wouldn't grow without sun. So the fish have to have the sun to start their process and move to the bank. If it's cloudy all week, I don't think the fish would actually go to the bank just because it's warm.
Catfish.
The sun is what tells them when to go. Oh,
he's hooked up.
I think he said catfish.
I don't know, Rob. Have some faith. Could be a 6.
I hope it's a bass for him.
Me too.
You can usually tell, catfish. Them things start rolling around. I caught several.
Caught a lot of white bass. Or not white bass, stripes. Oh,
Those are white bass.
White bass.
I
Yeah.
caught a true, like, it was a hybrid. It was a big one. It was like probably 7 to 10 pounds. It was a really big one the first day of the tournament.
Is that one high in the water column?
Oh, yeah. It was on the surface. I thought I done had a giant one. And I was like, I haven't caught a big, striper white bass or hybrid all week. And then I hook up with this one. I'm like, oh, boy. And I started feeling its gill plates where it was shaking its head. And I'm like, this ain't good.
What do you think of?
I wish I had like a
What do you
spray
think
to
of-
put on my bait that repelled catfish. Kind of like some.
That's what I think.
That stuff right there.
Kinda like
they get
some
on
like
your line.
bug
It's
spray.
crazy.
What do you think about the forward-facing sonar?
Well, I mean, I'm truly
What are they making
a
fun of?
rookie on it. I mean, I'm learning more all the time. I'm
Yeah.
not a guy, even though I've been doing this for almost 4 decades. I've never been the guy that says, "Hey, we should ban something." I remember when I first started as an outdoor writer, the first thing that people wanted to ban was bass tournaments.
Really?
Right. I mean, back in the day,
Gotta retie.
they didn't want bass tournaments on the water, and Ray Scott did a great job with catch and release and the classic, and started building this persona that these guys are actually good and not lucky. Sure, and they wanted to ban the crazy thing when I was just out of college and starting this stuff. They wanted to ban flipping.
What?
See, this is you young guys
Flipping?
have no idea. I mean, there's always been
They wanted to ban flipping.
Well, you got to understand that D. Thomas started that with and he would have 10-foot rods or 11-foot rod, and everybody else had a pistol grip 5.5-foot medium action rod, and then you would jerk the fish out of the water and that kind of. I mean, there was things. It was this isn't right. This but we continually adapt. The fish continually adapt, and so I mean, I've just seen it. LCD, everything. I mean, it's not understanding it is something. Oh, well, we shouldn't do this, but I also know from back in the day that even the old timers would tell us, hey, you realize we're only fishing for 10% of the fish, and fish that are on the bank, and so we always knew that there was a big deal behind us, but we just didn't know how to take advantage of it. And the forward-facing sonar has taught us that maybe that those old guys were right.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll tell you, Darrell Lawrence, who created the first flasher, and there were guys like Randy Fight, et cetera, who they were using the flasher in the same way because they could see that ping on that flasher and know that fish was suspended and know that fish was at, there was ways to do that. And I think Darrell Lawrence, Clun was telling me last week that Darrell Lawrence told him that he was thoroughly disappointed in the anglers because the anglers hadn't figured out how to use the flasher to catch the fish that y'all are catching now.
Right.
And because that was what it was supposed to be for. Or not only that, but other things. And so, it's just, there's just always this quest for knowledge, and it's a lot easier to be on the sidelines watching it. Now, what I hate is watching some guy's back just looking at a screen.
Yeah.
I miss the mystery. I miss the mystery of the catch, the mystery of the cast, mystery of what the habitat is producing. And part of that is the pattern fishing. And patterns
But you don't think
are almost
patterns,
dead.
You don't think patterns come into play here?
I think that they do, but I mean, it's not when you take the mystery out of it,
Right. I think I agree. It has lost some mystery there.
Right.
What
Mystique.
Yeah. The thing is that I just feel like I don't even know how to.
Well, I mean, there's no easy answer, and that's the thing. I mean, it's just what it is, and but we've always constantly. I mean, the people tune into this show, to Bassmaster Live, to Bassmaster Magazine, to Bass Times, because they're looking for knowledge. They're looking for a better way to catch more fish.
Right.
And the one thing that this has provided, you catch fish. The weights in this tournament, with the exception of maybe one or two, and maybe an overall average on the low, 1 or 2 pounds, are not much different than they were before forward-facing sonar. I mean, the weights are the same. You know what I'm saying? But to get to those weights, they're catching more, and not just, the whole deal back in not the day. Back in the day, it was 7 or 10. But today is, the old, got to catch 5, got to get 5 bites. And it's all about 5.
Yeah.
But very seldom do you see a guy in forward-facing sonar only catch 5.
I really did only weigh like 2.
Hey, I know that sounds tough, but I did it the second day of the tournament somehow.
Only 5?
I've got only 5.
But
here's the one thing is like looking at the back thing, right? When KVD was deep cranking here, was it 2016?
16.
In 2016, when he was deep cranking, that's pretty much what you looked at.
Yeah,
then.
but you were watching him. You were watching him do something. He was. You could. There's a lot of things. I mean, here's the thing with on the internet, we have photo galleries, and those photo galleries, guys would say, man, rather you not show that because how that bait loads up on that rod gives you an idea of what kind of rod he's throwing. How that crankbait comes flying back and how that line goes out and I mean, you can tell the difference between a guy who's flipping and pitching and a guy who's cranking or a guy who's throwing a spinnerbait, underhand cast, overhand. I mean, but this right here, there's, you don't get to see as much of that. And y'all are talking about fish that are in upper columns and lower and on the bottom and everything. And so where that comes into is y'all's education and how you need to relay that to the viewer. Because
right.
I'm learning as I'm going. I'm applying you guys and pushing you guys to teach me that because, people are sitting there wanting to know it. They're not learning anything, even if things that they know by watching JoJo there, and he's got one on. They want to know these things. And so the more knowledge that we can pass on during that whole process, the better off we'll be.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and for the most part, like we have talked about this housing area that they're in, everybody has a different, thought process behind it, where they're going to be and whatnot. But
this is a big one. Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
This is a big one. It's got to be, right?
Let's see. These things, I'm surprised it hasn't jumped. Every one of them I call, they're the most jumping fish I've.
He's like a 3-pounder.
Great big one yesterday. It jumped 4 or 5 times.
Well, and Jordan's one of those guys that he stays relaxed, about as excited as you'll see.
6 pound of my wild.
You said throwing 6-pound line?
JoJo Goya would have already boat flipped him.
That is a big
Oh,
one.
my
Right there.
gosh.
4-pounder. It's amazing how fat these fish are.
Oh, my gosh. Every fit. You were telling
Well,
fish.
guess we're going to have to do it.
Looks like a 4-pound.
So call him number 1.
I'm saying he's better.
Yeah, I spoiled up all 6-pound last night just because how fickle they were being.
430.
3 1/4.
That is no way. There is no way.
I felt like almost
guaranteed 4-pounder.
Every time you caught one like in practice, like the average bite would be, a 3 3/4 to 4-pounder. That's why, it's kind of my go-to in terms of the size of them.
I don't think that was a 3 1/4.
No.
I just don't think it. I think he sandbagged.
No, they don't sandbag. You rookies.
Hey,
You'll learn soon enough. I mean, Robert G is.
You don't think
he
sandbag?
He started sandbagging on day 3. Where were we? Oh, I know they.
Hey,
did.
that sticker isn't true. This lake's actually pretty good.
So he has a limit. So I didn't watch it yesterday. He didn't have a limit till late yesterday, right?
I didn't really pay attention to him specifically. I just know that he, I never worried about him catching a limit.
So it seems like he's around more fishes. He's weighing another one.
It will be interesting. I hope, that's the thing. You look at it and you're like, and of course some of these guys, maybe they're just small-eyed. I don't know.
Hey, I'm the world's worst at it too, so.
But you're putting him on a scale. Come on. But you're the only one getting to see the numbers. Now that's a 3-pound class.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of interesting. I guess you've kind of seen it all in all slow down here. This is kind of that lull window that we were talking about that you're going to see throughout the day. You got that morning flurry where they're up and then they kind of disappear. You're still going to see people catch fish, but it's not going to be as, sporadic. It's going to be real random. I mean, it's not going to be as consistent, maybe is what I should say, But late in the evening, it will pick up again. Those fish come back up. And
John Cruz has assured us of that, as has Brandon Palaniuk and Kyle Welcher. I mean, they know that there's a window that starts about 12:30. And by the time we get back, we're going to take a break here, and we're going to let Davey Height and Dave Mercer take over. But we'll be back at noon, and we come back at noon with Lee Livesey and Brian New, and hope you'll join us then. And just know since 8 o'clock this morning that they have been keeping my text alive because they're talking trash to each other. So it'll be an exciting noon hour. So come back with us at noon with Live Mix, and then Wesley and Kyle, man, I appreciate you guys. You guys have been fantastic.
Appreciate you having us.
Yeah, thank you, man.
We'll see you at noon.
Discover the Dakota Lithium DL Plus 135 amp-hour battery. With dual-purpose 135 amp-hour deep cycle capacity and an impressive 1,000 cold cranking amps, this innovative battery is equipped with even heat technology, allowing charging even in temperatures below 32 Fahrenheit, and boasts power gauge Bluetooth connectivity for real-time monitoring. Dakota Lithium, engineered to power your passion from bow to stern.
The best of the best just got better. Clearer images, sharper resolution, improved target separation. That's right, better. LiveScope Plus, only from Garmin.
Hunger is contagious with B.A.S.S. Playing off a fish's instincts, the Hydro Wave incorporates recorded sound vibrations that a fish would naturally hear or feel, provoking them to act.
Look at that. Look, look, look.
Pre-programmed with sounds and settings that let you fine-tune what the fish hears.
Gosh, what I bite.
Whether you're matching the hatch,
look at that thing,
presenting something new, or just trying to dial up the excitement when you found a school, the Hydro Wave provokes for extra bites.
It's time to buy Safe Fish, now until March 31st. Skeeter is offering rebates of up to $5,000 on 2023 and 24 models, or your choice of Yamaha factory financing, with rates as low as 4.99% or 5.99% with zero down, zero payments, and zero interest for 90 days for qualified buyers. With Buy Safe Fish, there's never been a better time to get into a new Skeeter boat. But this fantastic offer won't last long, so stop into your local Skeeter Boats dealer today before this deal gets away. Skeeter Boats. Eat, sleep, fish.
New Mega Live Imaging shows you what's below in real time with edge-to-edge clarity and no gaps in coverage, all so you can turn must-watch detail into non-stop action. Only from Humminbird. AFTCO. any fish, any water.
Have you considered purchasing new electronics for your rig? The type of mounts you choose to protect your investment should be part of the decision-making process. No matter if you prefer 1, 2, or 3 graph mounts up front, Beatdown Outdoors has a solution for you. Adjustable, versatile, rigid, and made in the USA. What's your ultimate electronics setup? Check out the full selection of Beatdown Outdoors products, and remember, you can't beat a beatdown.
When there's miles of water in front of you and hundreds of feet below, you need a boat with the chops to dominate, no matter the conditions. With the strength and technology to overcome the elements and the competition. Ranger Boats, still building legends, one at a time.
That's like an 11, actually.
Tugboat! With the sport of bass fishing becoming more and more popular, the fish are getting more educated and tougher to catch. The choice of Yozuri's top tournament pros is the new Super Fluoro and Super Braid combination. Made in Yozuri's private factory in Japan, Super Fluoro is designed specifically to be used as leader material and comes in sizes as small as 4-pound test. It's extremely invisible and abrasion resistant. Super Fluoro now gives the advantage back to the fisherman.
In 2009, it all started with this 721 Pro XP and a passion to build the best fishing platform in design, performance, and construction for all of our customers. Through the years, motors have changed. Electronics have changed. But the passion to build the best bass boat possible has not changed. Everyone at Phoenix believes we got it right the first time.
When you go rogue, you make your own fun. No matter what it looks like. Rogue nicotine pouches. Long lasting, great tasting. Go rogue.
If that makes any sense. Especially some of the bigger guys. Like
It was like he knew when I hit spot lock and he just dove into the dang tree. All right, I don't think that's gonna upgrade us much, if any. But it was fun to get my bait back and not break them off. Patience. That's why I use bigger line on my jerk baits around these big old Texas fish. This ain't one of the big Texas fish, but something else I learned from my man Aaron Martins. Get more control on your jerk bait with that heavier line. And I ain't gonna argue with that man. All right, we need a 211. I think he's 3 maybe. Maybe. Scaled him on 0. I was way off, he's 215. Little cold job. Get rid of that one I just caught. Just a little bit healthier, just a little bit. All right, bud, don't get comfortable in there. You're about to get replaced.
you know, you kind of belong there, you can kind of do a little more. And sponsors have really come in and backed me and stuff this last year, big time. And it's allowed me to fish a lot more freer, I guess you'd say. And it does, it helps tremendously. I mean, because it's tough on the road, you know, and you're away from family and friends and stuff, and you miss a lot and stuff. But when you got really good sponsors like I've got, and it makes a whole lot of difference, because they're not just sponsors to me. I mean, I try to make a career with who I'm with, you know, and that way when they call, I know what they expect of me, or try to, and it makes things just a whole heck of a lot easier. I don't think he's very big. No. Perfect, quick release. It's exactly how you want to land those little bitty ones. See what they are and let them go. Once again, I'm starting to get off the edge of this deal just a little bit, and there they are. It wasn't even really the one I was wanting to catch. The one I was wanting to catch was in front of it, and it's bigger. When we first come off of that point over there, there was quite a few in there better ones. It's probably where I should be staying. Well, we had to make a little change. I had to get up here I had to get up shallower. I couldn't take the deep stuff anymore. And as soon as I got up here, I actually started catching a few fish, been seeing some. So that's kind of that's a good sign for me anyway, I think. I wanted to let that little bit deeper stuff rest for a little bit too, because those fish are really following. I just don't know if it's the right time for them right now. I think it's, or for me, it's not. So I want to jerk around here for a pretty good little bit. Maybe see if I can't run across a couple of donkeys, which would be real nice and handy. Catch them on something I can get them in the boat with a little bit faster. But this wind has definitely picked up pretty good to make it a little bit tougher to set on these fish for sure.
Discover the Toledo Lithium DL Plus 135 amp hour battery. With dual purpose 135 amp hour deep cycle capacity and an impressive 1000 cold cranking amps, this innovative battery is equipped with even heat technology, allowing charging even in temperatures below 32 Fahrenheit, and boasts power gauge Bluetooth connectivity for real-time monitoring. Dakota Lithium, engineered to power your passion from bow to stern.
The best of the best just got better. Clear images, sharper resolution, improved target separation. That's right, better. LiveScope Plus, only from Garmin.
Hunger is contagious with B.A.S.S. Playing off a fish's instincts, the hydro wave incorporates recorded sound vibrations that a fish would naturally hear or feel, provoking them to act.
Look at that. Look, look, look.
Pre-programmed with sounds and settings that let you fine-tune what the fish hears.
Gosh, what I bite.
Whether you're matching the hatch,
Look at that thing.
presenting something new, or just trying to dial up the excitement when you found a school, the hydro wave provokes for extra bites.
It's time to buy Safe Fish, now until March 31st. Skeeter is offering rebates of up to $5,000 on 2023 and 24 models, or your choice of Yamaha factory financing, with rates as low as 4.99% or 5.99% with zero down, zero payments, and zero interest for 90 days for qualified buyers. With Buy Safe Fish, there's never been a better time to get into a new Skeeter boat. But this fantastic offer won't last long, so stop into your local Skeeter Boats dealer today before this deal gets away. Skeeter Boats. Eat, sleep, fish.
New Mega Live Imaging shows you what's below in real time with edge-to-edge clarity and no gaps in coverage, all so you can turn must-watch detail into non-stop action. Only from Humminbird. AFCO. Any fish, any water.
Have you considered purchasing new electronics for your rig? The type of mounts you choose to protect your investment should be part of the decision-making process. No matter if you prefer 1, 2, or 3 graph mounts up front, Beatdown Outdoors has a solution for you. Adjustable, versatile, rigid, and made in the USA. What's your ultimate electronics setup? Check out the full selection of Beatdown Outdoors products, and remember, you can't beat a beatdown.
When there's miles of water in front of you and hundreds of feet below, you need a boat with the chops to dominate, no matter the conditions. With the strength and technology to overcome the elements and the competition. Ranger Boats, still building legends, one at a time.
That's like an 11, actually.
Tugboat! With the sport of bass fishing becoming more and more popular, the fish are getting more educated and tougher to catch. The choice of Yozuri's top tournament pros is the new Super Fluoro and Super Braid combination. Made in Yozuri's private factory in Japan, Super Fluoro is designed specifically to be used as leader material and comes in sizes as small as 4-pound test. It's extremely invisible and abrasion resistant. Super Fluoro now gives the advantage back to the fisherman.
In 2009, it all started with this 721 Pro XP and a passion to build the best fishing platform in design, performance, and construction for all of our customers. Through the years, motors have changed. Electronics have changed. But the passion to build the best bass boat possible has not changed. Everyone at Phoenix believes we got it right the first time.
When you go rogue, you make your own fun. No matter what it looks like. Rogue nicotine pouches. Long lasting, great tasting. Go rogue.
Yeah. Sweet.